What's up, everybody? Welcome to day one of the round of 4 here in the ASL. We had a little bit of time off. We missed you guys. We hope those of you who celebrate Korean holidays had an amazing Chuseok. But I am so glad Tastosis to be back here, ready to cast this round of 4.
Oh my God, yeah. It's been like, that's such a weird break, like that it happened to be scheduled like this. Worked out well for me, but I am ready to finish this tournament up and see how it's going to end. And I feel like there's no results that can go poorly here. You know, like no matter what happens here in the top 4, it's going to be a ridiculous finals and a very deserving champion.
This is going to be interesting. I think a lot of people expect this to go a certain way, in that SnOw should win here. I mean, this is the greatest PvT of all time in the history of all 25 years plus of StarCraft. He is the strongest. But Barracks has weirdly been the Terran who's managed to survive. And, you know, it's crazy. He was the only guy we had in the round of 8 for Terran. He's looking very strong. Maybe he can cause an upset here.
Yeah, there is a possibility. Like, you know, SnOw seems pretty invincible. I was actually thinking to myself a lot about this match and what this ASL has been, because the Terrans got pretty hard wiped, right? Like, when you look at the way the tournament went, Terrans did not do well in this tournament at all. And we've seen throughout Barracks' interviews, and if you've followed the scene outside of just these ASL casts, like, basically almost everything Barracks is doing has been given to him by Flash. Flash is really coaching him through this, and some other players are helping him as well. But I feel like that is a crazy thing. Can Flash outthink SnOw, where SnOw's execution is this good? I don't think that's a possibility, honestly. I don't know about you, Tasteless, but like, as good as Flash is, as smart as he is, can he give Barracks enough strategies to overcome the best PvT player ever?
I don't know, man. It's going to be a real uphill fight, a real David versus Goliath match here. SnOw expected to win, and this could be the ASL he finally takes for the whole thing, or we're going to have a big upset here by Barracks.
Yeah. I think SnOw's time is probably here. You know, he's been so close to winning multiple times before, and he's just looking so strong this season. So I am kind of like leaning towards him to not just take down Barracks, but take down whoever else is in the way. But what I'm kind of most excited about for this match is just to see how wild these build orders might be. One thing to mention is that, like, you know, I run my Tastosis casting channel where I grab like mostly ladder replays and cast from the pros. And after Barracks made round of 4, Flash was on the ladder nonstop. So he's grinding new builds. Like, I've seen some of the stuff he was thinking about for Barracks for sure. Like, I was seeing on Roaring Currents some new builds he was using and stuff. Lots of testing by Flash. So it feels weird how much that guy can actually dictate the course of these tournaments. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're at right now with Barracks, his old teammate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my God.
That is hilarious.
Oh my God. I think that might be the most one-sided predictions we've ever had.
The fact that Effort thinks that Barracks is going to 4-0 SnOw, I think he must have typed in his response wrong. Who would think that?
Look, Barracks, maybe he can do it. He hasn't been stopped yet. It's been a very unusual story. I never thought we'd have Barracks this deep in an ASL. Certainly not for this season.
Yeah.
Certainly not as the only Terran who was doing this. But this has been an exceptional season with some very unusual results. The round of 24 and the round of 16, a lot of the players that we normally see in the round of 8 got knocked out. So let's see what happens, man. I think it's either going to be really close, goes either way, or SnOw's going to take it in a one-sided fight.
It's time for the finalists to be decided as we head into the round of 4 of Google Play ASL. Please put your hands together as we bring today's protagonists on stage. Today's first main character, a dark horse of this season, it's Barracks. The very last Terran standing. Will he be able to overcome today and head into the finals? He has a tough opponent to get through, a Protoss who is determined to be the champion this season. It's SnOw. Another round of 4 appearance from SnOw as he faces off against Barracks. Who will be the player moving on to the finals today? Let's have a word with our 2 competitors. Barracks. It's SnOw once again. A 1-4 loss in the round of 8. Anytime you meet, it's loss, 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 loss. A string of 9 defeats. Do you think you can beat him today? Can you? Or are you going to lose? I really prepared a lot. I think the most I've ever done up until this point. I have a feeling that maybe I can get revenge today. In the player predictions we just saw, Effort was the only player who expects you to win. And he didn't say 4-3. He said 4-0. Do you think he was serious? Do you have a future? Effort sure knows how to put on a show as a streamer. You know, I thought about the score a lot as well. I will have to make quick work of him. If I win, it will have to be a decisive victory. So, what do you think are SnOw's weak points? Does he have any? I don't think he does. He doesn't? Well, he plays well. Rather, I think I will need to focus on my own strengths. He plays well, but where is your championship, huh? SnOw, you've been crumbling in the round of 4 against Sulky. You kept getting trashed. But this season, it was Sulky who crumbled. What do you say? If we were to meet, I would have still aimed to win. But I do feel that Barracks is a better match for me than Sulky, who I kept running into. So I will not waste this opportunity. So this season, your semi-finals opponent is Barracks, who is riding a scary wave of momentum. As the series went the distance, Mini could not take it and fell apart. What did you think of that match? I keep saying he's good. People take it with a grain of salt. But as I watched it, I wasn't too surprised because he played as well as he always does. Okay, this season 2 more advanced this far. It's Bisu and Soma. Compared to them, what do you think of Barracks? He is a far easier opponent than the other 2. And I've beaten him plenty before, so I might throw him off today. So, do you think this season you will be able to raise the championship trophy as many fans have been hoping you would? Do you have that conviction, whoever you play? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A championship run is my goal, whatever comes. Right. SnOw is talking about a championship run. But today is the round of 4. You practiced for a long time to get here. What are you going to pull out against SnOw? What are you going to show? Please tell the fans. Just like SnOw, I too think this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. I prepared diligently. I should be able to show a good match. And I think it'll be interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it personally. I hope we both play well and have a good game. Okay, and SnOw, final remarks from you as well, please. I've beaten him 9-0. I've beaten him 4-1. I'll take this match with a 4-0 and bring the total score to 17-1. Wow, there is no beating about the bush on this stage. 17-1, says SnOw. What do you have to say? I'll win today and make this the first of many. A lot of preparation went into today's match between the two of you, and you both think this is a golden opportunity. What outcome can we expect? Please put your hands together and let us kick this round of 4 match off.
그룹 A조는 사타란으로 지금 대결했고요. 포기하지 않고 첫 8강 진출 이뤄낸. 뒤에서 다 죽었어. 밑에 벽에 균열을 내는데요. 타이밍 잡고 들어가는데요. 와, 공격의 황병영. 못 지키는데요. 괴로워요. 탱크 하나도 안 죽었어요. 이는 더블인데 BBS예요. 모질러. 붉은 투제. 우승자, 준우승자를 전부 다 때려잡고요. 마지막 테란 황병영 선수가 대결 최종 4강 진출.
17번째 시즌, 그 다음에 18, 19번째 시즌까지 모두 다 시대의 지배자를 만나서
완전히 달라졌다는 모습 경기에서 보여주겠습니다. 치고 누르고 있어요.
저기가 한 군데 때릴 때 프로가 두 군데를 때리고 있습니다.
전력에 들어왔습니다. 와! 완벽한 수비력과 판단력을 4강에 올라온 선수 장윤철!
What's up, everybody? It is time to finally get into this round of 4. And what an insane round of 4 this is, Tastosis. It's going to be SnOw versus Barracks. SnOw, the best PvT that's ever lived. Barracks, a player that, not that he's bad, but a bit of a surprise to be the last Terran left, to be making it this deep into this season of ASL. He could go all the way to the finals if he can cause an upset here tonight.
You know, I want to call Barracks an everyman's Terran because he's just kind of known for working hard, but he's also got 400 APM, so not quite the case, but definitely someone to root for. Like, we've seen Barracks coming up for a long time. You know, he was a standard, he's been a standard fixture in, I can't even speak, in ASL now for a very long time, but mostly it was round of 24. And then he was sneaking into rounds of 16, and now he's in a round of 4. It's kind of a crazy situation here.
It's wild, man. It's been a very unusual season. We had a lot of players in the round of 16 and the round of 24 who were knocked out. People we thought were going to be going all the way here. We were wondering ourselves, is Solkey going to be maybe winning his 5th ASL? And even though SnOw, I think it's always a safe bet that he would get this deep, the rest of the players, it's a little bit unusual, at least for the time in StarCraft that we're in right now. And Barracks, if he were to get to this finals, that may be one of the biggest shocks, biggest upsets for whoever gets this far in any ASL ever for a finals.
Yeah, he's had a crazy run. Like, he's the guy who beat Solkey in a non-Zerg versus Zerg matchup here. He took down Mini 4-3, which is insane. If he makes it that finals, who knows? Anything can happen. But this is the hardest test for a Terran player right here against SnOw, other than against Solkey, but he already passed that test, so what can we say? And of course, don't forget, we're going to have Soma versus Bisu in that other match. Absolutely bonkers. cannot wait for that. I honestly think that's going to be a better match than this, but this has a Terran player in it, so I'm actually more excited in a lot of ways.
I think Soma versus Bisu is going to be so crazy good. I'm super excited for that. I'm very interested in seeing how this plays out. I'm mostly going to be looking at this from Barracks' perspective. I want to see what build orders he will go for. We know that, you know, Flash has his ear. Flash has basically been using Barracks as this build order conduit. You know, he hasn't been able to compete, but he certainly is still, working out strategies and trying to figure out new approaches to the game. And so he's been helping Barracks quite a bit. So whatever new ideas, Flash has, they're going to be executed here by Barracks, which is a very interesting situation for this round of 4.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways this is as impressive as the random run that Flash went on, where he got top 4 playing random. It's like, okay, now you're not even playing in the tournament in your top 4. Like, what is that? And guys, we're not actually overstating this. It's just basically Barracks has been talking about how Flash has been giving him all these builds. He's been getting a lot of help. He's not really a strategic player. We've seen this for years and years in ASL. Every time he has like a good, I still remember he had his first good run in the round of 16. I was like, these are some of the sickest builds I've ever seen. Is he a genius? And then we hear in the interview like, oh, Flash gave me these builds, right? So it's like it's just kind of the reality of the situation. But the thing is, the kid is good. He plays well under pressure. He's super fast. He works really hard. He has good, clean execution. And he gets the coaching he needs, and here he is. Like, I'm super happy for him, man, and I think the sky's the limit for this guy.
And again, he's got this amazing run this season. Even if he loses 0-4 here, I think there's no shame in that. But I want to see how he does in next year's season and the season after that. I mean, what if Barracks does become kind of like a Rush, where he's suddenly always here? He's always present deep in ASL tournaments, even if it wasn't the guy we were thinking about, as a top Terran player necessarily just a few seasons ago. Times do change. The landscape of who's good does shift. And this is going to be an interesting moment here in the evolution of Terran. When Flash stepped away, there was some speculation that, who will be able to, carry the torch here? And it must have to be Light, but it turns out there were a ton of great Terrans.
Yeah.
There was Royal, there was JYJ, there was Rush, and now we've got Barracks. And so even with Flash out of the picture, it proves the race is extremely viable. There's a lot of different approaches and different play styles that do blend well with someone who wants to get deep in a tournament and be on top of the world. So I'm super curious about Barracks' run this time, but I'm even more curious about next season. Because is this going to be a one-off, or is he going to be back here again?
Yeah, it's hard to say. By the way, that chart that we just saw with all the stars, the filled-in stars were championships for his opponents, and the non-filled-in stars were second places. So he beat Royal twice, who's a champion. He beat Rush, who has 2 second places. He beat Mini, who's a champion, with 3 second places, and he beat Solkyo as 4 first places. In fact, the only person that beat him has no championships, and that's true. So I think that was a very fun chart that we just had up there. Barracks really, when you look at, just on paper who he's been beating here, these are some of the very toughest players.
SnOw, he's supposed to take this. If he doesn't take this, this may be one of the most tragic defeats in his career.
Yeah.
Because I think this is by far the easiest, most doable bracket run he's ever had. And I don't want to take anything away from him. This guy has brought us, I think, the most impressive PVTs ever.
Yes.
Like, at this point in time, if you were to take the most impressive PVTs that we've ever seen in the game, he takes like half of them. If you were to make like a basket of 20 or 30 professional matches. I mean, he's just insane. And look, this is a bracket that looks way more doable than previous ones, but SnOw has fallen year after year here, unable to get to where he wants to be as far as ASL goes. I feel like this is a guy we should have said has won 3 ASLs already, over the last, let's say, 8 years, but it hasn't happened. And if he doesn't take it now, I think that's a very, very damning outlook in future ASLs for him.
That's so accurate, Tastosis, because he's been stopped by only the greatest players in the world. Like, Rain stopped him in a finals. Flash stopped him, right? Rain is like the strongest Protoss ever. Terran, Flash. And then Sulky is the guy who knocked SnOw out the last 3 seasons. Like, we didn't, like, we've been expecting Sulky since about Season 2 to win a championship, and it took him a while to get there, and then he won 4 in a row, which is the most dominant we've ever seen. But we were actually expecting at the same time Sulky came up and started winning them all for SnOw to do that. SnOw was dominating everything at that time, but Sulky stopped him time and time again. Now Sulky's out of the way. He's out of the way. And here's SnOw is. He's got a Terran, and then he's got 2 players that aren't Sulky to go up against. And so this, I think you're right. If he doesn't win this season, this might turn into something like what Sue had in StarCraft 2, where it's like, uh-oh, does he have a bug in his brain and he just can't quite do it, even though he's the best?
Yeah, some kind of mental blockage that stops him from really, on the most important days of his career, playing as well as we know he can play on other days, you know, on lesser matches. As a reminder, everybody, this is a best of 7, and there are going to be a lot of different maps that we're going to be going through here. We're going to get the weirdest map out of the way here, in the map that has 4 islands that you can choose from here. But, okay, never mind. We're actually going right into this game, guys. All right, this best of 7 starts now. Remember, the winner is going to go on into the finals here of Season 20 of the ASL. Okay, SnOw in the top right, and Barracks here in the bottom left. You know, PvT on this map, I don't really know if one side is better than the other in, like, earlier mid-game. You know, obviously, Shuttle Reaver is going to be very strong, and Carrier can be strong, but, you know, Terran can go for Wraiths, they can go for drop ships. And I think those can be surprisingly strong against Protoss players. We should also mention that, like, this is the kind of island map where they can end up splitting up the islands. It's not a situation where, like, one person necessarily gets an island and then they get all the rest of them. If it turns into one of these games.
Yeah. You know, I've actually gotten to see and cast a ton of Terran versus Protoss here at this point. You know, I've seen a ton of games from Flash and Light, who are the 2 big leaders of Terran. And most games, Terran opens up with a 2 Starport Wraith. But it's gotten, like, they've gone down as low as 3 Wraiths. It's, like, just enough Wraiths to make shuttle play really, really difficult to pull off, and then into, like, dropping tanks and things like that. So I don't know 100% that they'll do this. And you can see this is actually, like, this looks to me like a little bit of a prediction of a cheese from SnOw, the way that he's making, like, a standard SimCity in his base. And SnOw is just going Nexus first.
You mean Barracks?
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's predicting that SnOw might cheese because he's setting up this very defensive layout in his base like you would on a normal, like, 2-player map, instead of what we've seen is more aggressive expansion-based play from Terran. Because don't forget, it's 2-player. Like, you could have proxy gates.
Right, sure. I mean, the rush distance is very far if you were to just make something in your base. But yeah, I mean, Protoss could very easily just have a probe sent out immediately and make gateways there. But it's not going to be that kind of game. It's going to be Nexus first. And you got to imagine that this is probably going to be the greediest Nexus first you could ever have in the matchup, because the counterplay from Terran is almost non-existent. The rush distance is so far, and you're on high ground. So, I mean, how many corners can SnOw cut? We're going to find out here. It's also very possible this would be a game where he goes into, after the second Nexus is done, pretty quickly into double Stargate.
Oh, like a 2-base carrier type thing, you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I wonder, like, it's not a bad idea, I think, because it seems almost too obvious in a way, but no one's actually tried that I've seen. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that all the Terrans like to go 2-port Wraith here after expansion. Because, like, maybe that the 2-port Wraith just, like, kind of out-tempos the carrier, but it feels like you'd be able to, like... Well, I don't want to get into some crazy theoretical of, like, then you make a Corsair.
Yeah. This is what I've been wondering, and I wanted to kind of lead into this because, you know, I don't know about you, Tastosis, but I do get asked in my stream sometimes, like, what about Corsairs? What about D-Web? What about... And it's like, I mean, you just don't have situations where the Corsair is that useful, but you can make Corsairs if they make Wraiths.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, like, the Corsairs just beat Wraiths.
Yeah.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
And so, you know, one of the reasons why we never see Corsairs made generally ever is we never see Wraiths. And the reason why we never see Wraiths is it makes more sense to get Goliaths or do other things in the game. And so Protoss never has to pull that tool out of their kit. But, you know, maybe we have it this time around. I don't know. Just want to put it out there. And then if we did have that, maybe we would have D-Web as well, because that would pair pretty nicely with trying to take out islands.
For sure. For sure. You know, it's hard to say, but looking at this build, it's a Nexus first from SnOw. He just does a full wall, and Barracks does the most standard opener in this matchup, which is a Vulture expand. Like, this is your bread and butter as a Terran player. And I think he's getting mines. I think he's just going to lay out a few mines and everything. But, like, it doesn't feel like this gives him any sort of advantaged position at all, right? Like, it's a standard opener on an island map. What is the idea? Is he just going to go third base immediately? That would be crazy. Oh, my God.
Oh, we've had a couple talks about this.
Yeah, we have.
Probably in the podcast, probably also Cacao. And so this is always, I'm actually glad this is happening in this game, because I've always been curious how Protoss wants to play versus this. So what happens is you go Nexus first, right? And this is an extremely strong build, maybe one of the strongest builds out of all the matchups in StarCraft, because if Terran can't rush you and hurt you, you're just getting so many probes. Like, look at the supply difference right now. It's 50 to 39. Now, that's pretty insane. Terran can expand themselves, but they'll usually be a little bit behind unless they also did a crazy build and just got a command center immediately. But that's a bit of a different game. Now, what happens when you do this is because your gas is later, your robo's later, which means your scouting's later. And what a lot of Terrans will do, while there's this ambiguity about what exactly Protoss is up to, ambiguity about what exactly Terran's up to, is they'll just take a third command center immediately. And this can vault them ahead economically. And it does feel like, to me, a lot of times when you do scout it, you're a little bit too late to actually do anything with this. So this is another pretty new common idea that's happening all the time with these Nexus first builds, is you send a shuttle to scout. Because you just need to see what's going on. You can't wait for the observatory to finish after the robo's done, then an observer makes. You just need to get a shuttle over there, and you need to try to identify immediately what they're going for.
Well, he sees that it is just a very fast third base. And once you see that mining, there's no other choices for Terran. Terran just has to macro up. Like, you have to add factories, you have to get your armory, you have to get some missile turrets. Like, it's not like you could do this into Wraith. Right, like you just have no units. You know, Protoss could attack, move you, and kill you. So he's definitely aware of where Barracks is at in this game, and he added that really quick Stargate that you were suggesting actually on the 2 base. Like that is a very fast like 2 base carrier type opener, that's kind of interesting because I don't think that pairs up against Barracks' build all that well, because Barracks is going to have an insanely strong timing attack if he takes no damage here.
Yeah, this bunker is about to finish, man. Oh, I think he's being a little bit too slow. He's going to grab a 4th Zealot to put in that shuttle. And I guess he's going to go around. I thought he might try to run up here and bust before the bunker was done. But I guess he can just kind of run in from behind. Now, remember, there's no Reaver with this. The Reaver, oh my God, is he going to elevator this?
This is really annoying. This is actually like... This is scary as a Terran player because you kind of need to have one front that you're protecting, and SnOw literally just walked around it. It's not really rocket science, but it looks like something that should work out pretty well for him. He's really dividing this army up. Look at this, a counterattack at the third base with the 4 goons. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, this is wild, man. I've never really seen anything like this. I guess we don't normally have games where the Protoss is on 2 bases versus the Terran's 3, and you kind of see the Terran overextended, almost like they're a Zerg. So the 2 Dragoons are going to be killed off. He's doing a lot of damage to the command center. The Nexus is going to finish over here, so he will be even on bases soon. All behind this, carrier tech is happening. He's going to send the shuttle with the Zealots back in. He's not going to get too much done with this. And I think this rush is basically over. So kind of an interesting interaction here.
Yeah.
He did make a pretty difficult position here for Barracks, but I think Barracks basically just brushed it off. He's already back to macroing up. He's throwing down more factories. And meanwhile, the most important thing for Protoss is that he's about to get, I think, Carrier 3 and 4 out in the next minute or two.
Yeah, I think the first two not quite done yet, but he's taken an island there in the center. I actually really like that island position that he chose because that's like the midway point where the carriers can play offense and defense very easily.
Yeah,
so yeah, I really like the island that he chose to take. Barracks is okay. He didn't take too much damage, but that did slow him down. The attack did slow him down. I think it was a good attack from SnOw. And SnOw's just taking islands. I don't think SnOw will take any more of the land on this map. And in fact, look at this. A scan comes out. The problem is that carriers over time will outscale Terran mech. So you have to have a plan here, like maybe a timing push. But you're going to have to timing push against counterattacks. You're going to have to timing push uphill against someone who has a bunch of island bases and can continue to support carrier production.
So he's unloaded the first wave, 2 Zealots and a Dragoon. Is he really going to try to do this again? This feels so risky, especially with just any Goliaths in here at all. But here we go. He's going to unload a couple more Dragoons. And he's going to try to target down that tank. He's going to get a couple more in here. And I guess all you have to do is be annoying over here. You just have to keep dropping stuff. He's going to drop a few more goons out here. That shuttle is picked off. But, you know, any Goliaths you can kill off here is great.
Yeah, the position looks pretty good for SnOw. Even though he's, like, losing units here, just slowing Terran down a bit is a very strong strategy in general when you're going carriers. Like, you can sacrifice a surprising amount of units, slowing Terran, to just kind of hit your critical mass. So I like pretty much where SnOw's at. He has lost a big chunk of his ground army. But, like, look at the supplies. He's up 22 supply right now. He is making carriers 3 and 4. He's got 4 bases, 2 of which can't be attacked because we don't even have a starport.
Yeah, did he bleed off too much, though? I guess as long as you're trying to rely on counterattacks, you just have to make sure the Terran's busy. The problem is Terran's about to sandwich this.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's just really not a lot left back at home. Notice that he's targeting down... Oh, he was targeting down the Goliaths. He's going to go for some tanks instead.
Ooh, just
looks
barely
like that one actually does manage to survive. Yeah. Kind of a funny game because there's no Citadel, I think. So there's no Zealot speed, really. It's a very bare-bones, basic... army here for the ground army. And really, this is just, you know, to kind of add as something that's going to make it more complex for Terran to fight just carriers. Because now there's Dragoons and Zealots down here. That means, you know, when you see this many carriers coming, you start to give up on Vultures. You kind of have to make Goliaths because you need to have something that's going to shoot that down. And that's when even slow Zealots can be pretty strong. Speed Zealots, obviously, a lot stronger. But now, you know, right now, Barracks is going to try to push out. This push is probably the most important point in this game here for him. He needs to make this work.
For sure. Like, the carrier count is going to keep going up, and he's pulled armies into 2 directions. This one's going to catch reinforcements. Really, really smart play there from SnOw. Bringing his carriers up as well as Barracks tries to push the front door down. You know, he is kind of pushing uphill, but SnOw wasted a lot of those units early on, slowing him down. So we'll see if this ends up working. Can he actually push into here? I think SnOw should be able to hold this because his other group stopped any more units from coming in.
Yeah, as long as those Dragoons are out there, all he has to do is be patient with the carriers and pick fights when he knows he can take them. There's just enough Dragoons that there's no way for Terran to kind of dive in. You can see it's only Goliaths back home. If he can just take out a couple more of these tanks, he's going to get it down to 3. If you can get it down to even 2 or 1, I think you're safe to try to attack it and hit with everything. And that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Oh, this is beautiful by SnOw.
Yeah, really a great time to attack in and just kind of sandwich everything. This looks like an impossible game for Barracks almost already. It's not 100% over because he did take a 4th base during all of this, but I'm not sure what magic you're going to have to pull off here because SnOw with 2 island bases, like, those are just invincible, you know? With carriers out, there's just no way Terran can really attack those, and his main frontal attack has already fallen.
we're up to 6 carriers, and this is where it gets kind of scary because you can start to just pick things off pretty easily. And there's quite a bit of Dragoons. That's about 1 control group of Dragoons underneath this. It's funny because Protoss is so locked into this tech right now. Like, he basically teched into carriers, Dragoons with range, and then slow Zealots and stopped. And he's producing off of something like, I think, what is it, 5 gateways?
4, I think, right now.
Yeah, I guess because the one of the natural was killed off there. But yeah, he's like just got enough to kind of come out on the map and take fights. But, we don't see Templars. We don't see Zealot speed or anything. Even though I think SnOw has the money now to probably add that in.
Yeah, I would like to see him do a little bit more than just this same exact move over and over. There are a ton of Goliaths in here. He's picked off the siege tanks pretty well. There's not that many. So he might just want to rely on his ground units a bit more. Keep building the carriers, sure, but like if there's only 3 or 4 siege tanks and you have some Zealots in front, you can fight for a while.
Yeah, he's buying time pretty nicely. And you got to remember, the carriers, they can go for this counterattack. Now, this base is low on resources, but there's not that many more bases, really, that Terran could take. And so I think, even though this is not going to be easy for SnOw, necessarily, it is a game where it's going to get harder and harder for Barracks the longer it goes on. Remember that SnOw still has shuttles. He can still expand to islands. It's unrealistic for Terran to ever take the 2 bases connected to the landmass on the Protoss side of the map. That's just probably not going to happen here. So I think there's more opportunities for SnOw to basically stay alive in this game. Both of these guys have huge, scary armies, very well upgraded, looking really strong, especially SnOw on the carrier front. But, Barracks has a lot when it comes to this mech army here, too. I mean, a misplay with the carriers, he could lose him pretty easily. He's just got to keep trying to buy time, basically, SnOw does.
I think it's really important to point out as well, Barracks' control of his army has been very, very good. Like, he's keeping it together just right. He's defending the tanks as best he can. He's reinforcing and moving back and forth really, really well. So there's, like, a lot of things that Barracks is doing nicely here. But SnOw does have this advantage. You can see his bank is building. He's whittling this down. It doesn't feel like Barracks is making progress. It feels like SnOw is making progress. He's the one that's building this carrier count.
Yeah. And every couple of minutes, 2 more carriers get added to the stack. So right now it's up to 7, which means 1 was picked off here, unless he somehow got staggered in production. But once you get to like 8 or 9 or 10 or 12, it's really hard to kill because by then there's so many interceptors coming out and things die so quickly, like you can see here. All the tanks are just getting wiped out. And I think he might want to pull back the Zealots a little bit here, but the point is that there's really no way to stop things like tanks and other important units from being sniped. By the way, SnOw's maxed out.
Yeah.
He actually might want to attack in here and sack some of those Zealots.
Does he even have a Citadel? There's no excuse for not having Zealot legs right now. He's had over 2K bank with extra gas this entire time. Like, just get Zealot legs, man. God.
Well, the thing is, what happens when you've got carriers is you could basically stop doing anything in your base at this point in time. The more time you spend with the carriers, the more damage you get out, the more interceptors you make.
True.
And so it is, especially in games that are this close, where like you have the lead. A lot of times you'll see players, and by the way, this isn't like good or an excuse, but they just sort of stop developing. They know they just need to kind of get a little bit more damage out with the carriers they have, and they should be okay. Big drops coming in here, though. I don't know how many cannons are at each island location, but it doesn't look like it's a lot.
0.
So, I mean, yeah, Barracks actually might just win this game because he doesn't have carriers defending this.
That would be crazy.
He should have had, as many cannons as possible over here to try to protect this.
Yeah, he's got over 3K bank, man. Like, he can afford more than what he's doing. Like, it's not just about microing carriers. Get some cannons, get Zealot legs, do these extra things. But Barracks is just being so methodical about this. He's putting out a beautiful game right now.
Okay, so he's going to save the island. Of course, he has now 2 bases that aren't mining, that are islands here. SnOw is just basically banking up a ton of gas. He's got double cybernetic score, by the way, so he's going to pretty soon here have, the longer this game goes on, he's going to have like 3-3-3 for carriers. He'll probably eventually get the shields upgrade. And You know, we're at that critical mass where the carriers, even if you kill them off, you're going to kill 1 or 2, and those, 1 or 2 are going to be remade, and you're just killing so much. And with this body of water over here that you can fly to, you can basically play keep away. You can see that SnOw's overextending a little bit, but it kind of doesn't matter. He just has so many interceptors, and he's able to basically kill a Goliath about every 1.5 seconds when he clicks down on them. And so there's just, it's impossible for Terran to catch up as far as value goes. GG, game 1 goes to SnOw.
Yeah, a couple things. First off, because I know there's going to be people that are wondering about this. Valkyries do not deal splash damage to interceptors, okay? Just to make that really, really clear, Valkyries do not deal splash damage to interceptors, so that is not a counter for this. But I'm not surprised that SnOw took that. It makes a lot of sense the way he played. It's funny because I hadn't thought of it because no one had been doing it in the games I saw, but you're right, going for the carriers quickly made a lot of sense. I mean, that's considered the strongest build in the game is cross-spawn Nexus first into carriers on 2 base. There's no real answer in the Terran arsenal, and we saw Barracks do very well. I think Barracks is playing supremely well so far, but that's a tough map, a tough build, and I have more faith in him after losing that game in that style than I had in him previously.
Well, he played a really good game, but I think he didn't play the map, where SnOw really played the map. Even this little maneuver over here, like having the 2 Dragoons and Zealots hit the main, but then having these 4 Dragoons come in from behind, it's like, wow, you are just so crafty. And I think also then just taking the islands, kind of directly tech it into the carriers, and basically keeping islands that were really close to where he was being pushed. He was able to both hold off an attack and at the same time protect his islands. And, from there, it's a waiting game. All Protoss has to do is get to that critical mass of carriers, and there's not a lot you can do. And frankly, Barracks never really engaged the whole concept of the islands on the map. I mean, nothing was stopping him from getting a starport earlier, and even just dropping 4 vultures on an island. That might have actually allowed him to win with a push like this if he just kept Protoss a little bit busier. But instead, he just didn't even acknowledge the island and tried to do one of the hardest things to do in the whole game is to win versus carriers by pushing into the Protoss's main.
Yeah, that's so hard to do, seriously. They're just so good at whittling you down and slowing you down like this. I think SnOw did put out a good game there. So, yeah, that's game number 1 going to SnOw. Not a huge surprise, but I think we're in for a treat today, honestly, after watching that game. We really are.
Put that game away, kids. StarCraft is on. Put that screen down and look at another screen.
Oh, dude, that's a sick whale shark toy he has.
Well, SnOw takes the lead, but, we can't recreate a game like that on any of these other maps, so we got to see what's going to happen coming up next year. Guys, we'll be right back.
For esports pros, awareness is essential. That's why the Black Shark V3 Pro is tuned in to what matters most. A quantum leap in speed for instant audio response. Full-range clarity that carries every shot call. Advanced ANC to eliminate all distractions. And crisp, clean sound that captures key audio cues. Made for the best. Made for who you can be.
두 번째 4강 진출자는 장윤철 선수였습니다. 축하드려요.
감사합니다.
오늘은 그래서 장윤철 선수와 함께 룰렛을 돌려보려고 하는데요. 이렇게 키워드가 있어요. 혹시 좀 예상이 가시나요?
아니요, 전혀요.
전혀 안 하죠.
원래 연상 퀴즈를 잘 못해서.
한번 돌려봐 주시죠.
아, 네.
구글 플레이가 나올 수도 있습니다. 오. 키워드 레드카펫 어떤 질문이냐면요. 또다시 우승 후보인 장윤철 선수. 매번 벽에 막혔지만 지금은 벽이 사라졌는데 우승으로 향하는 레드카펫이 깔렸다고 볼 수 있을지 본인의 생각이 좀 궁금합니다.
아, 이거 제가 말하면 또 안 믿을 것 같은데 저는 저의 위치를 좀 잘 알아요. 그래서 저는 제가 연습할 때 저의 실력을 아니까 상대 쪽에 있는 그 나머지 4명도 굉장히 힘들고 병영이 형도 굉장히 힘들기 때문에 우승 후보라기보다는 그냥 한 단계 한 단계 좀 어떻게든 이겨보자 그런 마인드로 좀 하고 있어요.
아니요, 너무 겸손하신 것 같아요. 그냥 우승 후보라고 하죠.
아, 맨날 지는데 어떻게 그래?
네, 지금까지 이겨서 또 4강까지 오셨잖아요. 하나 더 해보죠. 오프. 평소에 비시즌 동안 본인만의 스트레스 해소법이나 아니면 다음 시즌을 위한 휴식을 하는 방법이 있으신지 궁금한데요.
저는 이제 다른 게임을 좀 하는 것 같아요.
어떤 게임 주로 하세요?
롤이요? 좋아하시죠?
그럼요.
24강 할 때까지만 해도 좀 했었거든요.
스트레스가 그럼 좀 풀리나요?
뭐가 아니라 새벽에 한두 판밖에 못 하거든요.
네.
근데 그게 엄청난 힐링이에요.
보통 이렇게 애기들이 힐링이다 이렇게 얘기를 해요.
잘 때.
아, 잘 때가 너무 예쁘고.
너무 예쁘고 너무 귀엽고. 네, 요즘에는 또 일춘기 와가지고
네.
그 만화에서 막 이렇게 하면서 막 울잖아요.
네.
그런 게 진짜 현실이었어요.
그러면 이번에 시즌 끝나고 다음 시즌을 준비하는 동안에는 혹시 하고 싶은 게 있으신가요?
좀 운동을 좀 진득하게 좀 하고 싶거든요.
아, 어떤 운동 하고 싶으세요?
집이 스타필드랑 좀 가까운데
네.
스타필드 가니까 테니스 있더라고요.
테니스
그거 한번
너무
배워보고
좋다.
싶더라고요.
테니스 그 나중에 한번 후기 기대해 보도록 하겠습니다.
이렇게 못 올라가면 평생 못해요.
알겠습니다. 마지막으로 제가 한번 들려봐도 될까요? 뭐 나왔으면 좋겠나요 혹시?
제가 구글 플레이
뭘 것 같으세요? 구글 플레이 나오면?
뭔가 선물이 있을 것 같아요.
뭔가 선물이 본인에게.
네.
아, 알겠습니다. 제가 한번 해볼게요. 차차차차차차차! 와, 구글 플레이! 구글 플레이로 오행시!
오행시.
구글 플레이에서 이렇게 선수들이 오행시를 해주면 좋아하시지 않을까요?
진짜 못하거든요.
그럼 저희 하나씩 이렇게 만들어내기 해볼까요?
불을 먼저 해주세요.
아, 제가 구를 먼저 할까요? 구글 플레이가 이번 시즌부터 ASL과 함께하니까 너무너무 행복한데요.
글쎄 이런 데가 또 없다니까요.
플레이도 재밌고 구글 플레이도 함께하는 ASL 시즌20 끝까지 봐야겠죠? 네!
이걸 놓치시면 안 됩니다.
레는요?
아, 레요? 아 뭐야? 레라고요? 레?
네. 네!
레전드.
네?
레전드 구글 플레이.
이건 놓치면 안 되겠죠, 여러분? 이렇게 또 같이 하면 또 재밌게 더 완성되니까 멋있게.
아니요 망한 것 같은데.
마지막으로 4강 가고 한마디 부탁드립니다.
한 1년 반을 4강에서 못 올라갔는데 이번에는 정말 한번 꼭 올라가 보도록 하겠습니다.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We're going to go into Game 2 now. Interesting Game 1. I think both of them approached that map in a pretty interesting way, but I do think SnOw's overall game plan was better. I think there's a world where Barracks could have pulled that off had he just engaged with the islands a little bit more.
Maybe.
You know, the island, it is a weakness, or you at least force cannons there, which might make it harder to have enough gateway units back at home. I don't know. I'm still enjoying that map quite a bit, though.
Yeah.
I think it's made for some very interesting games, and I think we need more of those kind of maps, or maybe more of that map specifically in the future here. But now we're going to go back to more of the standard maps, the maps you probably see on ladder, or play on yourself if you're watching from home. We're going to go to Polestar.
All right, Polestar, great standard map. Can't wait to see what Barracks looks like when there's not islands involved.
Okay, Barracks in the bottom right and SnOw in the top right. Quick reminder, guys, if you haven't already, consider going to patreon.com/ASL English and supporting our endeavor to keep the history of the greatest, the oldest esport alive forever.
Thank you, everyone who has signed up. You guys are the best. You know, we're having ridiculous ASL seasons. It feels so good to be a part of StarCraft right now. I know I keep saying it, but like it's seriously so true. Like you were saying when we were talking earlier that, you know, the StarCraft bug just re-bit you again. You've been playing off stream even, you know? Me as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I played more StarCraft off stream in the last 2 months than I have in years. Like the game is in such a good place right now.
It's nice, too, because it's so old. It doesn't feel like we have to have this kind of hysterical conversation. Oh, thank you so much for the shout-outs. Appreciate you guys. It doesn't feel like we have to have this kind of panic, this hysteria over like, oh, is it going to be here next year? It's like, yes. Yes, it's been a quarter of a century. Yes, it'll be here for another quarter of a century. So, yeah, guys, consider signing up. We love you. We appreciate you. And, you know, we've got no Nexus first here. I kind of thought SnOw might just Nexus first every time, but let's not forget we did see the double racks, like hard counter to Nexus first. It's finally coming up in ASL. We talked about this for seasons.
Yeah.
That, you know, there is a way for Terran to just kill you outright if they know you're going to do this build. So you actually can't do it every game because you can just Marine Rush with 2 racks and win the game, and then you're done, you know.
It was Mini vs. Rush ASL Finals. I forget which season that was, but Mini did, out of 7 games, 4 Nexus First games. That's the most that we've seen. And Nexus First, it is technically the strongest build, but if your skill set is different from that, it's like just because a build is the strongest doesn't mean it's necessarily the strongest for you. Because SnOw is so good that if he gets to Reaver without being dead, you're in trouble. You know?
Yeah.
So, like, the thing is, the one thing about Nexus First is it adds more volatility into the early game of Protoss vs. Terran than, like, say, just a Dragoon expansion.
We'll see if this is even going to be one Dragoon. Oh, it actually certainly will because there's a Zealot. If there's a Zealot that's made, there's always a Dragoon or another Zealot that comes out next. Probably a Dragoon here now. So SnOw's going to go with a little bit more pressure play. This is very safe, but you do not have as many probes when you play like this. But you have material on the board to fight with. And, you know, the reality is that the less common, answer to when you think somebody's going Nexus first for Terran, the less common one is like just double racks in the middle of the map to choose them out. The more common one is Terran also opens up in a very greedy way. And I think that's why we see this build and Nexus first a lot back and forth. Is you have a very different opening where if the Terran is greedy at all, there's Zealots running across the map, there's a Dragoon out immediately.
Yeah.
There's just damage that can be dealt. And so it kind of keeps the Terran, I think, in their place from the Protoss' perspective, where you've just got enough different kinds of threats. You've got Econ Greed in some games, and in other games you've got exactly what we're going to see here. You know, pressure that really makes you respect the Protoss.
This was an excellent read from Barracks. Like, SnOw hid his Zealot as the SCV was coming up so that he didn't know the SCV was coming. I mean, that the Zealot was coming. And if you go 3 Marine Vulture expand, then the Zealot Dragoon can actually screw you up. But he made a 4th, and then when he made a 4th Marine, and then when the SCV was in the main base and the Dragoon immediately left, if the Dragoon immediately leaves, that's because there's a Zealot. And then he added a 3rd depot. It was, like, perfectly done by Barracks. I really, really like what we've seen here from him. I think he's playing some of the best StarCraft I've seen him play. I know we've only seen him lose a game and open with an expansion in Game 2, but, like, these are fine points that he is acing right now.
No, you're right. You're right. It's funny because when you frame it like that, I'm like, yeah, he's only lost, but I mean, it does look good. Really good job by SnOw.
Yeah.
That's a commitment to try to get that Vulture out, to figure out what's going on, and it was killed off. And it's not like Terran is going to lose this bunker, but you can force SCVs to come here and repair. So they're both not mining, and they're losing money. You're losing money overall because you're investing in keeping the bunker alive. So this is kind of a scary moment. Now, both the Nexus and the Command Center are going to finish at about the same time. Terran has to be careful. We saw that attempted shot on the tank. You got to be really careful to not let them do that to your tank, because if a 4th Dragoon comes down here, and it's about to, you can 2-shot a tank.
This was really, really well done by SnOw. Like, once you catch that first Vulture, you can send all your Dragoons. So, like, he's been forced into siege mode, and SnOw from here will probably just make a Nexus while teching. Right? Like, I think you just go for a pretty fast Nexus by like 6 minutes, 30 seconds or so is my guess, but we'll see what his plan is by that. It's just like, as soon as you force siege mode, they also have to get a missile turret. And when you look at the cost of 2 siege tanks, siege mode, plus a missile turret at your front, you have no attacks that can come out for a really long time. So Protoss can just expand freely.
It does feel like it's a situation where you're making Terran just spend so much defending that, yeah, you can easily squeeze out one more base if you're able to get away with it up here. But I'm watching both of these guys closely because this is a situation we see a lot of times. And I feel like these guys are so on top of their game with how they're going to approach this. It's going to be interesting to see the way it goes down. We've got the first shuttle that's going to come out here. Back at home, you know, it's pretty light. I don't see turrets yet. Was he making an eBay? I might have missed that.
Yeah, he has an eBay. He's already made a missile turret at the front, too. Like, you just... You simply, you have to when you've committed into siege mode, because there is the very small chance that DT comes and just wins the game. So you make the missile turret, you suck it up, you say, okay, I have no map presence, I am defended though, and the game goes on.
And so he's got the 2 zealots to put in the shuttle. That's going to meet up with the Reaver. And at worst, you're just going to force a bunch of turrets. At best, you're going to kill SCVs, maybe tanks or other stuff, and then force a bunch of turrets. And so we can see that shuttle coming in right now. And behind this, SnOw's going to take his 3rd base up here at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, definitely wants to get that going. And, you know, I think he's played this actually more carefully than he really needed to. I really think he could have done all of this and skipped a gateway and skipped a goon and gotten that Nexus faster, but that's okay. Drops in now and going to pick off 1 tank pretty easily. Doesn't lose anything as of yet.
Yeah, gets that kill. It's really important that Barracks basically stalks the... oh, hold on a second. So he's going to drop right on top of that. Will he get the Reaver out? Oh, kind of miscontrols that. And the Reaver actually pops out. That was really interesting. The Reaver, he had clicked unload on top of the refinery. That creates some ambiguity about where the unit's going to pop out, because it doesn't come out right underneath the shuttle. So it popped out to the left of the refinery, which means it couldn't be picked up again. The shuttle also did a little 360 before unloading, which means he mismicroed it slightly. So that might be the worst Reaver control we've ever seen from SnOw.
Yeah.
And he's paying for it.
Huh.
He did very little damage. And the general rule is if you go for Reavers in PvT nowadays, you can't afford to lose the shuttle and the Reaver. Because a lot of times what you're doing when you get a shuttle and a Reaver is you're trying to get as much damage as possible, and then you use it to defend a push. So when you lose that and have to start over again, that's really bad.
Yeah, very, very true on that. And Barracks has gone up to 5 factories. I think this is a good choice from him. I don't know for sure whether he's going to push or not. I really think he is. If you kill that first Reaver, you got to be feeling pretty good. And it's not a particularly fast 3rd base. Like, it could have been a greedier 3rd base, and your gateways would come up a little bit quicker or something like that, but he's kind of playing middle of the road. So I like where Barracks is headed with this, but SnOw already made his Citadel, so he's getting ready. He recognizes that this could be a push, and he's going to have those Zealot legs ready to try to stop it.
Okay, he's going to try to get in here. The turrets are... I love the placement, because he's not overmade turrets. He's just spread them out enough to where it's not possible to unload at a corner with a shuttle without losing the shuttle. Which means he can spend the rest of that money, you know, on tanks, on factories, and he's going to try to push out now. And there's no way that SnOw could attack into this. There's, like, the same number of tanks that there are Dragoons. So he needs to basically just force him to siege an inch away. Now, behind this, he does have a Templar Archives that is being warped in. I wanted to mention this earlier, but we didn't have time to bring it up. SnOw was late on mining gas that is natural. So, like, all of his gas income was slowed down. We know he spent some gas income on shuttle speed, but the point is that he's not going to have a lot of gas for Storm right away. And with the way this game's looking, he doesn't really have the opportunity to tech into that super advanced cool tech like Arbiter or Carrier right now. He basically would probably tech into Storm and use a speed shuttle in a spare shuttle. Sorry, I use Templars in a spare shuttle to basically drop and try to Storm and then run away. And then when he thinks he can come in there and pounce, go for it.
Now, Barracks is leapfrogging as quickly as he can. He has to get this push up in position before there's a ton of speed zealots. A little counterattack here from SnOw. He's going to go ahead and sack a goon up at the front. Just enough units here to make this very dangerous for Barracks. He's laying a few mines and everything, but this will allow his siege tanks to get to the front of SnOw's base.
Now, DTs can be used here as well. He might be able to run up and... Okay, hold on. He's going to drop these Reavers. He's got to continue to juggle them. He needs to try to target into the center of the clump. As long as he can just do it in between shots from tanks, I think he can take this out. This is exactly what we were talking about. The best PvTer of all time. Something that looked like it could have been so close has been turned on its head. I thought for a second ago he might have to try to kill the scanner and go for DTs, but SnOw is so perfect with his Reaver micro. He knows how to drop that Reaver in between the siege tank shots. Or even if like the Terran tries to hit S to basically buy time, then he doesn't unload it. And look, not even the Vulture counter is not going to do anything.
Barracks was just a little bit too clumped up at that front. Just a little bit. And he was managing two areas at the same time. So you can definitely look at that and understand how that happens. You know, he's being counterattacked by a ton of Dragoons. He's got to handle that well. And he's got to also push at the same time because those units are out of position. I think his army was big enough technically to take an advantage here. But SnOw out-microed him. He kind of out-multitasked him. Barracks didn't focus on the right things. And now SnOw's taking a fourth Nexus. Now SnOw's sitting back. He's got map control and everything. There's still a little bit of a chance here because, you know, when you're playing against just gateway units and Reavers, it's like you can still do something. But now the Psy Storms are going to start coming out. We just saw the first High Templar pop, and that's going to make pushing a lot harder.
Yeah. The Psy Storm is going to be very, very valuable. I think that there's still room for Barracks to try to make this work. You know, depending on what the next couple of engages look like. But clumping up is going to be the thing he needs to avoid if possible. And, of course, that's always easier said than done. Clumping up is never, you know, necessarily a decision. But what SnOw's doing is he's creating the opening for counterattacks, right? And so what Barracks seems to be doing is actually setting his Vultures out and hoping that if a counterattack comes, he can absorb that instead. Now, there's one Reaver, but the shuttle's not quite over it. And this one Reaver is actually low enough on HP. I don't think it can drop next to the Vultures. It'll die.
Yeah, the Vultures can power that down really quick. That's what he was going for, but SnOw was a bit too fast. I love this counterattack with the Vultures. He needs to lay just a few more mines here, and he should get the Nexus. Or if SnOw is slow at all, he'll get the Nexus as well. And it looks like SnOw is going to slow down, unfortunately for him. More Vultures coming up. This was just to make sure. But he's going to secure this Nexus kill, and that's huge. That is huge. Like, getting the fourth Nexus with Vultures is... like, this is one of those situations as a Terran player where you're like, okay, I'm actually really in this game.
Yeah. The supply is pretty good for SnOw. And the truth is, the third base for Terran, it doesn't have SCVs in it yet. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not even done yet. But it does... the point is that it doesn't have, you know, resources being... soaked up from it just yet. I think it's possible for SnOw to try to come in there and attack that, but this is a very close game. It's crazy because you're seeing SnOw expand right next to his main base. So Barracks has done a really good job of keeping the Protoss locked out of the top left. This is the sign of a great Terran. When you can just bully the Protoss off of the top left main, you're making it a much tougher game because all that you have to do for Terran from here is basically have a concentrated push that doesn't get totally wiped out by Psy Storm and Reaver shots. Oh, perfect. He's going to take out Templars, too. If you can do that and push up, all you have to do is push into the main. That shot was insane. 8 kills on that Reaver.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That was an insane, insane shot. That actually really changes things in this game as well. Like, it felt like Barracks was taking control of everything, but that really hurts the economy here. He does lose the shuttle, so this will get cleaned up. They're really, like, bruising each other over and over here. You know, SnOw taking that closer base. We might see Barracks just try to do, like, an almost, like, all-in 3-base push. Just have everything he has just go to the north. Maybe he takes a 4th base over at 3 o'clock or something, but this does... There is danger in taking that base, as you pointed out.
The idea for Protoss is that they want to take another main and then put gateways there. The number kind of depends on how many they've already been forced to make back at home. But when you have gateways coming out of your main and coming out of another main, like the top left or the bottom left, then the Terran can always be surrounded. Because it's pretty impossible for Terran to ever push both mains at once. Like, that's just not really a thing. You're spread too thin. But if you can keep the Protoss stuck in this quadrant in the top right, you can get a maxed out push that just sort of runs them over and then traps them in their base. There's too many tanks with siege mode out there. All your gateways, the rally points, they can't get out of the natural, and then you just basically divide and conquer. You go and take out the rest of the bases. So this is still very possible right now for Barracks.
You know, I hadn't even realized that SnOw had taken that bottom left. Like, my eyes just didn't even look there. Yeah, he's already got 2 gates and 2 cannons there. That's crazy. Like, and Barracks isn't even scouting that. Like, this shows you guys, we can see the whole map, but Tastosis and I are, like, looking at the normal locations that you'll see things happening, and that is not one of them. Like, if Barracks recognizes that's there, he can easily push it down and gain an advantage. So this is a risk from SnOw taking that bottom left. But if it works out, like, that's if Protoss can secure the other main that's near Terran, that becomes terribly bad for Terran.
Yeah, and if it's not spotted, this is you know, that's going to be possibly how he ends up losing the game. Great Storm. Ooh. You just take anything. Storming Vultures is completely acceptable.
He
but
snapped that shuttle alive. He snapped it.
Yeah,
like that.
So that's,
I think it still had 3 High Templars in it. So that's a big moment for Barracks.
I didn't even realize at that moment that it had been killed. But yeah, that's really bad because all you've got is the Templars right now. The point is that the Terran is trying to push out, and they're going to have these pretty concentrated groups of units. And if you can get a couple of Storms, even if you don't kill that much at the start, you're eventually going to get them weak enough that they can't do that much. Now, is this a Reaver? Can he come through here and maybe... Oh, that's funny. I guess you can Psystorm the SCV. That'll stop that 4th base from getting up.
Well, that is a funny way to do it, isn't it? But if you slow the base down, that's fantastic. It's really annoying for Terran to have to send another one. In fact, he already had his SCV sent, so they're going to long distance. So I'd definitely say worth. He still, I don't think, recognizes that bottom left is taken. I think Barracks actually thinks he's winning right now after all of this, because if I'm looking at where I know the bases are, which is the top right quadrant, like, that's weak for Protoss. They need another main, but SnOw taking this down here and adding all these gates, one of the hardest things in the world is pushing up a ramp into a main base's Terran, because they just Psystorm, they run into any tanks that come up, there's like cannon spread, so you need tanks to go up. It becomes very messy, very difficult to break, and a lot of Terrans will end up losing a Terran versus Protoss because they're overcommitting trying to kill a main base.
This main base that SnOw has taken is harder to take, but if you get it, it's actually stronger.
Yeah.
Because Terran can't expand to that location, and it means that top left base, Protoss taking that is an inevitability. And so the longer that goes undetected, the worse it's going to be.
At this point, either Barracks needs to clear bottom left really cleanly, or he needs to do a massive push to the north that destroys everything up there. Those are like the 2 ways to victory here for Barracks. And he's almost maxed out now. So, like, this is not 100% unrealistic. Like, definitely I put SnOw in the advantage right now. But with that max Terran army, magic can happen.
It does feel pretty scary right now for Barracks. But, yeah, with a push, if he can just get enough damage done, his army is going to be stronger. The Psystorms, by the way, aren't that great. He's getting like a tank, a couple vultures here. But it's going to be go time here for Barracks. He's unsieged. He's moving out. The next couple storms are going to be extremely important. Also remember, because there's gateways down here in that bottom left location, you do have a point to counterattack or surround. Both are completely acceptable.
Well, right now, this push forward is very strong. He's actually controlling it really, really well. Not too many tanks sieged, but not too slow either. You can't spread every single siege tank. There are going to have to be groups that are Psystormable. Moving forward here, his Vulture movement really, really strong. You want to make sure the Vultures don't get stormed. A lot of people just think about the tanks because they're kind of stationary and everything, but storming the Vultures is oftentimes how this goes wrong, where you just don't have enough meat in front of your army. And he is doing just perfectly with that Vulture movement.
He's got a ton more shuttles here. There's enough Goliaths out that you can't quite just dive bomb this, but that is another great way to try to pull this off, especially when the Vulture count gets low, is you just unload all the Zealots and Templars on top of the army, and a lot of times the splash damage is pretty punishing. Another great Storm. All he has to do is basically hold this off, and there's a real balancing act here from the Protoss. You have to have enough units on the outside of your base, basically, and then enough units rallied out of the gateways that you can keep surrounding this. The whole game is to not get boxed in. And dude, Barracks can still do this. This army is so scary.
Well, yeah, there's definitely potential. He's taking that 3 o'clock base, but there is a counterattack from SnOw into the 6 o'clock base here, which this is a real problem. This is where Barracks might get pulled apart a little bit. He needs to send enough to save that, but this push is like the way to victory as well. So it's getting very tough. Being pulled in 2 directions is difficult to manage with mech.
Yeah, and taking out the 6 o'clock base is huge, because we are literally seconds away from the natural mining out, which means Terran's going to be on 1 base. But this push is becoming insane. It looks like SnOw's going to have to reroute all of the rallies from his main back into his main, because see how some of these units are going to run down the ramp to their death? So that's going to be pretty time-consuming for him. But I think SnOw has done he's about halfway there. Because Terran, he might have pushed through the natural, he might have denied these bases, but this bottom left base is probably going to be what allows SnOw to win this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Like, this push has done so well, just stopping the reinforcements from top right. But he's got like 8 gates in the bottom left, so he's producing a huge amount of his army out of there. And that's going to be hard to hold on to.
Seems like SnOw could just counterattack now, hitting the 3rd or even the 2nd base. Yeah, I mean, there's just not that much here. And he's going to spill down into this position. And remember, oh my God, the Reaver drop's insane. Oh, he's so good with his Scarab shots. Every time, it's so perfect.
Man, he is just dismantling the entire economy of Barracks right now. He's going to lose this command center. The one with the Reavers at it, I mean, I don't know if he lifted it. I hope so, because he definitely was taking a lot of damage there, too. In the meantime, the Siege Tanks are pushing down a lot of Nexuses. He's killed 2. He's about to kill a 3rd. And I think he'll even kill that little pocket one in the top left. But those bottom left bases are thriving right now for SnOw. And Barracks is, like, not even... he's barely mining. Barely.
I mean, how many SCVs must this guy have right now? It feels like he must have, like, I don't know, 15 or 20 or maybe even less. Now, there's this big battering ram of Terra units that you have to respect still. These units could win a fight versus what SnOw has, depending on the Reaver shots and the Psystorms that are fired. And that's why now SnOw is devoting his attention to slowly surrounding the army itself. He knows that he's knocked Terran off into... I mean, Terran's in the Stone Age economically.
Yeah.
So now the only thing Terran has is this army that's kind of marooned out on the middle of the map.
He needs to pull that back.
They don't really have a way to get home.
Yeah, he has to pull it back. Like, the thing is, it's also important to keep a containment up at the main, because if he can join his entire army together, that's going to spell defeat, you know, for Barracks. But look at this. Like, he's not really moving. I feel like he hasn't maybe identified what's going on still. Like, is he... I feel like leaving that army up there is confusion or something.
I mean, he must know by now. I don't know if we're going to get to see in, like, an instant replay if there's a scan here, but, like, you have to know at this point in time.
Yeah.
There's the bottom left is taken, right? I mean, what...
There's just
I don't know.
Way too much otherwise. Like, how would he have all these units coming in from these funny angles the whole time? I mean, I know Protoss can be scary and SnOw can be scary, but, like, he must have seen it by now. He must know it's there. It's just, okay, he's brought the army down. He's going to retake this 3rd base, I think. I think he does have enough army to technically hold it, but if you look at the supply, his SCVs are, like, they must be non-existent, because he's got 75 supply against 150.
Well, he's going to take out the 2 Reavers, but not without some nice shots from those Scarabs connecting onto that. I think Barracks is dead.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, SnOw is not mining gas. which goes to show you what a crazy game this is. He's got the bottom left, but never took the 2 gases. I would not have noticed that if this game hadn't slowed down so much. But SnOw seems to be, by the way, it's the second time it does seem like SnOw is a little bit frozen in the game he's in, which is very unusual for him.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe it could be nerves or something coming up for him, but this is going to be the end of the game. Nothing really left here for Barracks to do. He's going to lose this entire army. I tell you what, it felt like SnOw opened a little bit better than Barracks, and then Barracks fought back really, really well. Even though he lost his 5-factory push and a counterattack was doing damage to him, he fought back so magnificently, like killing the 4th Nexus with the vultures and everything, and just keeping SnOw on his back foot. SnOw taking that bottom left main that Barracks, at least we know he didn't know about it for a long time. I think by the end he must have, but that really won SnOw the game. I think he loses otherwise.
I think Barracks played so well. He looked so strong, and it's pretty painful when you just see somebody who loses a little bit of map awareness, and that's how they lose the game. Everybody's been there, high level, low level. You've all had that moment where you scan or you scout and you go, oh, how long has he had that? And, all he needed was 1 vulture there. 1 vulture to snipe that probe, and you'd have a butterfly effect moment. So look at this. Here comes the push. Now, this was where I think the game, if the Terran played a little bit better, could have ended it.
Yes.
But what happened was this counterattack at the bottom hit. And, I mean, this is, by the way, very tough for both sides. This is kind of a crazy moment because both sides have to play pretty perfectly. And you can see if these Dragoons can get up into the main, they can sit on top of the factories and kill everything that's going to come out. The bunker's empty, by the way. And so what does he do? He runs up and he sieges everything like this. And this is where SnOw sinks his fangs in. Because he says, I've got some perfectly juicy targets right here in the middle. And as long as I've got a Reaver or 2, I can fire Scarabs in here and just kill everything off. And so while Barracks got the siege tanks on the high ground to protect his main, he also lost the push. Now, even then, I think he still could have won.
Yeah.
But you got to scout those hidden bases. And I guess we're never going to know in that game when exactly that bottom left base was found. But I think there were at least 8 gateways that were made over there before he knew what was happening.
For sure, for sure. I mean, another good win there from SnOw. Barracks definitely on the back foot here with a 0-2 to open, but he is playing very, very well. Okay, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, set 3 on Dominator.
For esports pros, awareness is essential. That's why the Black Shark V3 Pro is tuned in to what matters most. A quantum leap in speed for instant audio response. Full range clarity that carries every shot call. Advanced ANC to eliminate all distractions. And crisp, clean sound that captures key audio cues. Made for the best. Made for who you can be.
진출자 한병훈 선수 모셨습니다. 어서 오세요. 오늘 눈물의 주인공이기도 하는데.
진짜 세계 최초 4강 진출.
여러분 박수 한번 드릴까요? 그러니까요. 오늘 또 뜻깊은 날이기 때문에 저희가 특별한 컨텐츠를 준비해봤는데 저희가 룰렛을 돌려서 나오는 키워드에 맞게 질문을 드릴 거예요. 혹시 뭐 예상 가는 질문이 혹시 있으신가요?
지옥은 안 나왔으면 좋겠는데요.
뭔지 다 사실 모르겠죠?
구글 플레이만 좀 느낌 나요. 제일 좋을 것 같은 느낌인데 포인트 혹시?
아, 포인트는 팬분들에게 드리는.
아, 팬분들에게?
아니요.
저도 좀 탐나더라고요.
아, 그쵸. 예상을 못 하시는 것 같아가지고 바로 돌려서 나오는 키워드에 맞게 질문을 드려보겠습니다. 돌려주세요. 오, 꽤나 세게 돌리시는데. 구글 플레이를 원하셨지만 키워드 50견에 관련된 질문이 뭐냐면
네.
8강부터
네.
사실 유일한 테란 생존자가 되면서
네.
무거워진 어깨에 50견이 왔다는 소문이 있는데 좀 그런 부담감이 있으신지 결국에는 4강도 갔어요.
부담감은 사실 전혀 없고요. 사실 저는 오히려 뭔가 많으면 많을수록 힘이 되더라고요. 그래서 부담 전혀 안 되는 것 같긴 해요.
구글 플레이 나오길 원하는 마음으로 한번
네, 한번 해보겠습니다.
돌려주시죠. 하나, 둘, 셋!
이번에 살살 돌렸는데
오! 어떻게 하셨어요? 오늘 운이 좋은 것
아,
같아요.
네.
구글 플레이로
네.
오행시! 제일 어려울 거 하겠죠?
아, 이게 네.
한번 준비되셨나요?
그 즉흥으로 가볼게요.
즉흥으로 가보시죠.
네.
운 띄워드릴게요.
네.
구글
플레이 제가 참 좋아합니다.
글!
글로는 설명할 수 없을 정도로요.
플!
플레이 오늘 어땠나요?
레!
레이저도 있고 구글 플레이도 있고 너무 행복한데요? 이렇게 기분 좋은 ASL은 처음입니다. 너무
완벽해요. 완벽한 오행시였어요. 네. 오늘 황병현 선수의 되는 날입니다.
네.
마지막으로 하나만 더 돌려보도록 하겠습니다. 이번엔 제가 한번 돌려봐도
네.
될까요?
좋습니다.
돌려보겠습니다.
네.
키워드 지옥에 관련된 질문은
네.
이제 포핏 김민철뿐 아니라 결승 진출 경험자 김지성, 유영진 그리고 변현재를 상대로 모두 승리를 가져간 이번 시즌인데요. 지옥의 난이도를 이겨낸 과정에서 황병영 선수가 크게 깨달은 부분이나 성장된 부분이 있는지가 궁금합니다.
뭐 실력 느는 데는 이제 매 시즌마다 또 영호가 진짜 많이 도와줬거든요. 예전에도 뭐 도와주면 올라갔어야 되는데 멘탈 이슈가 좀 컸던 것 같아요. 사실 막 1경기 지면은 자책을 너무 많이 했거든요. 왜 이렇게 못하지? 제가 역배라고 계속 생각을 하고 하다 보니까 마음이 되게 편해지고 긴장을 아예 안 하게 되더라고요.
상대하는 선수들 입장에서는 그게 좀 무서울 것 같은데 이영호 선수에게 한번 영상 편지 남기시죠.
영호한테요?
네.
KT 때부터 저의 스승이었던 영호신 너무 고맙고 어떻게 고마움을 표현해야 될지 잘 모르겠는데 늘 진짜 감사함을 가지고 있단다. 앞으로도 계속 잘 지냈으면 좋겠어. 고마워.
그럼 마지막으로 4강에 대한 각오 한마디 남겨주시죠.
사실 제 목표가 이제 매 시즌마다 그리고 다음 경기마다 좋은 실력을 보여드리자라는 생각을 갖고 있거든요. 보여드릴 테니까 믿고 기대해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 감사합니다.
황병영 화이팅 같이 외칠까요?
네.
하나, 둘, 셋. 황병영
화이팅!
And we're back. Hello, everybody.
right
Right now, we've got a 2-0 lead here for SnOw. I got to emphasize, both these players are looking so strong.
Yeah.
I think that game 2, both sides showed such good fundamentals. The way that Barracks was able to kind of deny control of the top left against, of all people, SnOw. SnOw is probably the best at securing another main in mid-game.
Might be.
Better than any other Protoss that's ever lived. Sorry, Tastosis, go ahead. I keep cutting you off.
No, it's all right. I want to point out that my casting here and like what I'm feeling and what I'm saying, I'm recognizing that it really reminds me of when the StarCraft 2 player Cure was really starting to rise up. Like, he was always a very good player, but you know, nowadays Cure is a god mode, like tournament champion type guy, right? And there was a period where I was like, okay, he is like maybe the best Terran versus Protoss in the world. He's playing so well, it's insane. And then everyone was pointing out, like, Tastosis, you keep saying he's playing well, but he's losing all his games, idiot. And it's like, okay, these things don't really have as much in common as you think. And that's what we're seeing with Barracks here, where it's like, okay, yeah, he's down 0-2, but if you actually look at how he's playing, it's like, oh, This is incredibly strong. Like, this is dynamic, beautiful play from him. Yes, SnOw has won these games, but if Barracks continues to play like this, I don't know if he wins this series, but this is a new level, better than what we saw against Mini as far as the overall play from Barracks. Barracks won a lot of games strategically against Mini. I'm looking at just the fundamentals of his play, and it looks amazing tonight.
The problem is SnOw seems to be just a little bit better. He's really good at those counterattacks. He knows how to just kind of drag the push out and play keep away, chucking a storm down here or there, and then he knows when to close in. And it's tough. It's tough because Barracks almost had that game twice. He had it the first time when the push was coming out, but he sieged up. He kind of did an impulse siege because he knew he was probably going to get surrounded when he should have had the tank spread out a little bit more. And then he just basically hyper-focused, almost tunnel vision onto the top left when he wasn't checking the bottom left. Because any good Protoss is going to be kind of slippery in games like that. They're just going to try to squeeze out a base somewhere. They know if they can play keep away for long enough and just get a base up somewhere, the Terran is going to be stuck in their quadrant and they can probably win the game. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Wow. I'm super pleased with these two games so far tonight, and I really hope that Barracks starts taking some games, because like I could see SnOw with how well he's playing. Like maybe he 4-0s or 4-1s or something. But that won't really tell the story of this. I really want to see like 6-7 games here tonight with the quality of play we're seeing out of Barracks so far. I hope he doesn't mentally fall apart here. But honestly, I think he's mentally very strong. That's the way it seems to me. I never see Barracks play a game where I'm like, oh, he choked. You know, in fact, I feel like we've seen more choking tonight from SnOw than from Barracks, if that makes sense.
I was going to bring this up. No, I think you're right. You know, it's weird. We saw the game where he never got the Citadel, and he had a lot of money banked up, and I mean, look, he still won, it's fine, but like even in game 2, he had the bottom left main, he was on 15 gas for minutes. He just wasn't mining gas.
Yeah.
He just had whatever gas was in the tank, and then just mined that out and didn't take the 2 gases in the bottom left. Now, I mean, this is really, you know, I feel like we're almost grasping at straws for criticism, but it is weird to see 2 games in a row from a player like SnOw, so he might be a little bit shaky here as well.
Well, looks pretty focused right now, thinking about this next map for sure.
Well, he's halfway there, but Barracks does look strong. These have been hard-fought wins. And, you know, if Barracks makes a couple of adjustments, I think he can be, you know, viable. I think he can win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think game 1 was almost winnable for him, even though it's like the hardest thing basically. In game 2, like shit really went wrong and he almost came back and took it anywhere. Like if he had just had a vulture in the bottom left, or if SnOw, his counterattack and defense of the push wasn't quite as beautiful as it was, anything happens there. So we're going to go into Dominator.
Dominator.
This will be a fun one with SnOw.
This is going to be interesting. Starting out on low ground and fighting to take your high ground. Let's see what happens, guys. Right now, SnOw with a 2-0 lead in this best of 7. Can Barracks pull it back, or is SnOw going to keep getting closer and closer to going on to the Season 20 finals?
All right.
We have Barracks here in the center right and SnOw here in the bottom left.
Okay. So the thing I was thinking most in my mind, first off on Dominator, because this is a 3-player map and it's rotationally symmetric, was if we want Barracks to win, we don't want SnOw behind him, and SnOw is not behind him. And then the next thing I was thinking was, like, if Barracks gets bottom left, that's going to be the best case scenario. But, you know, this is the main thing is... Oh, thank you. We love you too, Joe. Or wait, no, well, I guess he's saying hi to Joe, but Joe's great.
Well, we also
as well.
love Joe.
Yeah, Joe's amazing. Yeah. You guy holding the sign, you really know. Us and Joe, man, we're the 3 Musketeers.
we appreciate you.
Yeah.
So these kids don't pay attention. They're going to miss out on the build orders, man. They're never going to learn.
Oh my God, lazy. But yeah, anyways, SnOw is not behind him. So to make that more clear, right? Like, let's say that's where Barracks is. You look at where Barracks is. If SnOw is at top left, and he's like posturing towards Barracks, then it's harder to take the mineral base, and there's also the potential of like a frontal attack, but also shuttles going in the back really easily. Whereas in these positions, yeah, there's the chance of the frontal attack, but the mineral base is very easy to take, and that extends your defense to the north, which blocks shuttle play into the back of your base. It's like you have to go so far around to get shuttles back there. It's just a lot harder for Protoss to abuse Terran when they're not behind them on Dominator.
Yeah, being in low ground means, where you, like you're seeing here, where the SCV tries to come up onto the high ground. Drops are scary, recalls are scary, and that can definitely be exploited here. And I would imagine in every game that we have, we're probably going to see Reavers here from SnOw. He doesn't have to do it. I think he could win without him, but he's so good with Reavers that it just makes sense for him to get.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for him not to. I mean, they're so good anyways. They're just such a staple nowadays. Everyone uses Reavers like all the time. It's pretty rare to see anyone without. Like, I still get surprised when people just open like 2-base Arbiter or something, even though it's a good build, which is actually funny because Bisu's one of the only guys that really uses that at top level still, and we might end up seeing that if Barracks can pull the upset. But yeah, SnOw has done more to shape the Protoss vs. Terran metagame than anyone else for the last, like, 4 years.
Well, watching what he does with Reavers, it was so weird, I think for you and for me, Artosis, because we spent all of StarCraft just doing StarCraft, right, for StarCraft 1. And then StarCraft 2 came out, and we just switched right into StarCraft 2. And, of course, eventually ASL emerged, and StarCraft 1 was picking up, and Blizzard did begin to work on StarCraft Remastered. But I remember returning and being a little bit blown away by what people were doing with Reavers, because a lot of times in the past, the Reaver was sort of like this harass drop unit, and like, sure, you could fight with it too, but mainly you remember these units for like crazy drops, like, oh no, there's no turrets, and now let's see how many kills this can get. But SnOw and other Protosses got so good at fighting with the Reaver, with their army, like we saw in the last game, that it totally changes the way that you would look at a fight ahead of time and know if you can go in or not.
I have to mention that this is the greediest opener I've ever seen from Barracks, basically. He went 1 Marine, Vulture. He saw the Goon come out, and he still took up forever to start another Marine. This is an exacting defense. This is... Okay, so... One of the ways, like a big flash fingerprint, is if he scouts Protoss first and no Zealots made, he goes bunker with 1 Marine into his command center. Like, that is just flash standard. Barracks didn't even make the bunker.
It's crazy.
Which is like, wow. Like, this is... I mean, obviously you can see he's done it totally fine. He's completely fine. There's no issue here. This was like the highest level of optimization of early defense that you can see, literally.
It does make you think Flash might have played a role here.
Yeah.
Just having the absolute bare minimum to defend lets you get that many more SCVs out earlier. All these actions build off of each other. Now, SnOw is getting his Dragoon range, which he got, I think, a little bit later than normal here, by the way. And actually, I think never mind, it just finished, so it actually must have not been...
Oh, okay.
I know, I thought he had gotten it much later. I thought for a second he might have gone Robo before Dragoon range, but never mind. So it's going to be 2 gates with a 3rd Nexus coming up. And, I mean, there are technically builds where you go for 1 gateway and take 3 bases, but I don't find them to be viable in tournaments of this caliber because people are just so good at punishing. It's so greedy that it's almost like a cheese. So he's going to have 2 gates, but this is going to be coupled. Oh, hold on a second. We have the push coming up, and it's going to be only 3 Dragoons remaining. He is going to drive this away. By the way, that 3rd Nexus didn't start.
Ooh. This is a really interesting position that they're in right now. Like, he's already picked off a Goon. He lost a Vulture. He's got a couple well-placed mines, and he pulls back, but... Oh! Chills. 3rd factory Tasteless before eBay. This is super, super rare. really, really rare to see a third factory at this time. Like, you can't afford armory. You're going to be you're skimping on everything. Like, this is all about just producing a lot of units, and he's going to try to punish SnOw right away.
Yeah, well, SnOw didn't get his third base up immediately, and so he's been slowed down. And Terran didn't really lose a lot. Like, the 4 Marines, the tank, they're all headed back. And so, basically, he got his first jab in there. By the way, the block should be perfect. Okay, so that's going to be an overextension there from Barracks. But before that, I mean, it was basically a perfect game from Barracks. He shut down a quick expand and got away. But, yeah, the third factory means he can try to come out here for another attack.
Wow.
And try to hit really hard. And I don't know how safe this is because it's going to be Shuttle Reaver. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that shuttle speed is being upgraded here. SnOw gets that pretty much every time. I really can't think of games where I see him go for Shuttle Reaver unless it's a weird cheese and then not have that upgrade. You know, because shuttles with speed are just so much better, and SnOw is the best at controlling these units in the history of the game. But it's going to be 2-base versus 2-base now.
Yeah. He sees that probe leaving, so I think he's going to recognize that there is not a third base up yet, but that's okay. He's going to continue to push forward. The mine's kind of pushing these goons back. He's going to run a single vulture in, and that's going to be a little bit annoying. This is going to be a very messy, down and dirty game. Like, this is such an aggressive opener from Barracks. We normally don't see him play quite this aggressively. He's got a decent little army here, but you have to be really careful against the Reaver.
Okay, so this position is rough right now for Protoss, but the angle that the Reaver gets that shot off, this could save the day. So what SnOw was able to do is he was able to actually force his Dragoons out of the wall in here. So he's got this out. He needs to try to snipe the tank. He's going to take that tank out. Things are falling apart here for Barracks. And a very late third base is going to be started here for SnOw.
Yeah, there's still some potential, I think, because he's got way more units than what SnOw is used to dealing with here. He was trying to get a missile turret up. It doesn't look like that'll work, but the Dragoon count is really low. So, like, you don't even necessarily need to be sieged everywhere. You have to be really careful with your micro, though. If he's getting free Reaver shots, you're going to be in trouble. Ooh, very good shot there. Oh!
I just don't know that Barracks has enough. It just seems like things are thinning out. The 3 factories are reinforcing pretty nicely here. It is 3 factories to 2 gateways, by the way. Obviously, the Robo is probably producing Reavers over and over and over here, so we can just kind of reinforce that. The problem is he's not able to deny the third base or push really into the second base. In fact, I think he's too close. I can't believe he got that close for that tank. That was insane.
Oh, my God. And you can see it's still, like, Barracks is putting together like a better aggression than you would imagine in this position. Like, the supplies are still relatively close. It feels like SnOw is holding, though. Like, he's not taking any probe damage. His gateway count's going up. His third Nexus finished. So, like, as soon as this stabilizes, his economy's going to run away from where Barracks is at.
So, you know, is this really as bad for Barracks as it looks like? Because, you know, he doesn't have a third base. He's throwing down more factories, so he's not going to try to expand. Instead, he's going to try to just kind of burst through with damage. And again, this is against a player like SnOw, who's kind of known for just shutting down anything that goes too hard at him. You know, with the Reaver control, by the way, perfect timing here to get that third pylon up there, to get the wall in. But yeah, this just looks pretty dire right now for Barracks.
I think the actual, like, evaluation of where he's at right now has the most to do with SCV count. Like, if he has like 55 SCVs right now, I think he's actually fine. And it looks like he does. Like, looking at his mineral lines, I think he kept his SCV production up. Because if you're, like, kind of going a little bit more all-in-ish and you're down in the mid-40s of SCVs, like, that's going to be a terrible spot to try to come back. But if you're already almost on 3-base SCV, he's adding these additional factories. He kept the Reaver off him long enough that he's added missile turrets now. I actually think Barracks is okay. It's not like the opener didn't do what he wanted. He wanted to just get a kill. Like, he wanted to break through the goons at the front and get a bunch of probes and, like, just have a hugely advantaged position. But he slowed SnOw down quite a bit, right? Like, this third base didn't get mining for a long time. You're actually, as a Terran player, like, that's kind of what you're looking for. Oh! The mine hits the Reaver. Crazy.
Yeah, that backfired. I'll tell you what, that's a pretty big deal when you have something like 7 factories producing and you are ready to come out swinging on the map. Keeping that shuttle and Reaver alive would have been a better move. I mean, how could he have known, though? He dropped the Zealot first and the Reaver was like a hex over and eats the mine shot. So there's still 3 Reavers. You've got to imagine there's a shuttle being produced right now. But it should be time to move out here for Barracks pretty soon.
Barracks is, like, I gotta say again, like, I am so unfathomably impressed by this guy. I can't even explain to you how good his fundamentals are looking here. He's opened 3 games completely differently. Super greed game 1, super defense game 2, super aggressive game 3. Like, this build that he did, I've only seen 4GG, Speed, and Ample do it. And those are the 3 most aggressive Terran players in the world at the pro level. Like, no one normally uses these 3-fact openers. They're nuts. But he actually did an okay job with it. He's transitioning out well. Look at the supply. 137, 151. That's pretty good. Like, as a Terran player, you're like, yeah, I like those numbers. All right. You know, that's totally fine for 12 minutes.
And he's going to just chain these tanks together, leapfrogging them. Zealot speed's not done. You really need Zealot speed in order to topple a 2-base Terran that's been going powering up for this long. And it seems like he's just going to go. This could be really bad. Slow Zealots are so painfully slow. It looks like the upgrade just barely finishes. They're going to keep spilling forward, but there's so many Vultures behind
Look at how
him.
many units he's got. It's insane. He's macroing so well during these pushes. And you have to actually control and focus fire and pull Vultures back and siege tanks, but he's macroing like crazy. He started his 3rd command center at the beginning of this push, so even if this push, like, even if he has to turn around, as long as he doesn't lose all of his tanks, he's going to have the same economy as SnOw. SnOw's not on a 4th Nexus.
Yeah, he takes out that tank there. It does feel like there's a little bit of sandbagging going on here from SnOw that's actually succeeding, by the way. He's not able to get over this last rolling hill. And SnOw might just expand here into the top left.
Well, he definitely he needs to get a 4th, man. Like, this is a very, very slow 4th base for Protoss versus Terran.
So with 2 shuttles at play here, looks like he wants to poke in with 1 Zealot and just see what he can find. Again, great snipes. Takes out another Reaver. Meanwhile, he's going to...
Dude, SnOw is a little bit off today. Like, I think Barracks is throwing him for a little bit of a loop. Like, it's definitely not just SnOw being off. Like, Barracks is truly, guys, playing like God mode. This is the best games that I've ever seen Barracks play. But, like, yeah, SnOw is losing these shuttles. He's losing Reavers more often than we normally see. I'm surprised Barracks is actually pushing this hard right now, but you know what? He's kept so much pressure on SnOw. I think he's got a good feel on how many units are actually here.
He doesn't have scan. Okay, he's got a scan. Just was a little bit slow on it. I think that Barracks wins here.
I think you're right.
Another Reaver comes out. You know, he just hemorrhaged a couple too many Reavers. Oh my God, there's 2 more Reavers behind that. They keep getting a bad read. Yeah, he's got way more Reavers than I thought. Why are these Reavers not helping with holding the push? This is insane.
Well, I think he lost too many shuttles or something. I'm not even sure. Look at this. He drops out for some Psy Storms. 2 of the high temperatures get picked off. A couple Storms go out, but not that good of Storms, really. The spread push is still coming in. Barracks is macroing so fast behind this. Like, he has been sitting at 390 APM nonstop in this game. He is such a fast player, which I don't think he gets enough credit for just how fast he truly is. Because the fact that he is setting up this push and microing this well, and the amount of units we see coming out is insane. It's like you're watching Light or Flash play. It's just like he's got as many units as you can have. And that makes it hard. Anytime anyone has as many units as you can have, that's when you get players like Light, Flash, Best, these guys, where it's like, well, shit, how do I even stop this, you know? And that's what it looks like here.
Oh, another shuttle goes down. At this point in time, it feels like Barracks is just having to make more shuttles than Reavers or Observers here. It's just, you know, trying to get the next shuttle in the group so you can still try to do something to hold this off. Now, SnOw's going to come in here with a counterattack. and basically try to get in between the reinforcements. I don't know if this is enough, by the way, to make this work.
I don't think so.
Okay, so
yeah.
That feels like that could just get pushed by the next reinforcements and run over.
Yeah. Look at this. He lays some mines behind in case it tries to flank. I love it as well. But yeah, I think he can basically take his reinforcements and probably clear that army, and that becomes an even worse position for SnOw. Now, SnOw does have his 4th base mining. He's trying to hit this 3rd, but yeah, there's plenty of units to block it. And SnOw's army does not look that scary. I mean, it's not terrible. He's got some Reavers in there. He's got some Psy Storms and everything, but it's not that big. It's not that well positioned.
Oh my God. Look at this 1DT up on the side. He might be able to take a tank out. This is going to get sandwiched over here. Oof. Turns out to be a really good mine hit, by the way.
Yeah, that DT.
And, you know, these Reavers, the Reavers are still getting a lot of value here. I mean, if you can just target down the Vultures, you're going to get... I mean, that's actually pretty crazy. One more shot, maybe? Yeah. Not bad. Not bad, man.
Yeah, that was a really good couple of moments there for SnOw to kind of bring his army back into the fray of things. Another High Templar gets dropped out there, or killed rather, by the Vultures. The DTs are actually doing a really good job. I feel like I'm watching mini play with how many random units are getting sniped by these.
And what SnOw wants to do again is maybe get in between the armies here. And you know, I'll tell you what. SnOw's at 158 supply. Barracks is at 144. They're pretty close. That could go either way depending on mine hits or storms or scarab hits.
Ooh, I think SnOw should have died to the left there. He's hemorrhaging a little bit. It wasn't that siege tank heavy. It was mostly Vultures, but now Barracks just basically brings his reinforcements as well. SnOw is trying to take a 5th base up to the top. Excuse me, but I think Barracks here, like, what he needs to do is take a 4th, and if he gets all of his army together, I think he can make like a killing move into the natural. But all of his units need to come up together.
The problem, remember, is that if he gets contained here, all of his gateways are on the low ground in that main. And that might be all that Barracks needs to pull this off. And he's finally, after almost controlling this really early on, has finally pushed his way all the way back over here. SnOw is barely hanging on, running out of oxygen. At the same time, it's just a 3-base Terran. He doesn't...
Yeah.
He started his 4th. That could be attacked. It's a completely naked expansion.
And it looks like that is what SnOw's going to do. This is actually a really clutch moment for SnOw, because he has slowed this push a lot. He is getting another Nexus up, and his probes are going. Doesn't look like Barracks has any counterplay there. But he's going to cancel that 4th. And that 4th is really important. The main base is mined out for Barracks, and his natural has to be low. I don't know exactly where it's at, but it has to be low, and you really do need 2 mining bases as Terran.
So SnOw is just going to try to hold on for dear life here. There's a decent amount of army out here, and by the way, we're not focusing on it, but there is a gateway explosion happening in the main at the top left, which is going to allow him to have a place to build reinforcements out there. He's also being extremely conservative with his army back, kind of in the middle of the map, in the upper center of the map, because he realizes as long as I keep this alive, a counterattack potential is very realistic. If he storm drops or Reaver drops this base at the 3rd, that's where basically all the SCVs in the whole game are.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the go-to play. The problem is he's not going to stop this contain.
By the way, yeah, and I think he knows that, because I just saw him add a 2nd robo. I think he's looking at this and saying, well, I just have to ferry the units out of the main base for now. So he's getting a 2nd robo. I think it's so he can go mass shuttle at this point. Like, Barracks is taking over this area. He should be able to push down the natural, have the contain up, and push down the 3rd base. It's those other bases that are going to be tough as long as SnOw keeps a good-sized army on the map. And you can see he's running an army over towards that 4th base again. He has an observer there watching. Denying that 4th base again is a huge moment for SnOw. This game really can go either way.
I think SnOw can actually take this, but it's going to be very hard. But if anybody could do it, it would be him. So he's going to deny the command center. He's dropping the 2 Reavers out here because he wants to get any kind of juicy shots just like that one over there. And then he's going to back up. Remember, there's only one base Terran is mining from. There is literally only one base. SnOw is about to get his 4th base that he's mining from.
Yeah, and he's...
No, sorry, 3rd base that he's going to mine from.
It's actually...
No, 4th. Never mind, 4th.
3.
No, 3rd. No, 6.
He's actually adding pylons right now because he is pretty massively supply blocked. It's really an issue that this 4th base isn't mining yet. Okay, I was just going to say he should really lift his command center. Like, that 4th base needs to have been up a minute ago. Like, that's probably the most dangerous part of this game right now for Barracks. And we see SnOw is actually... He's ferrying a bunch of units over to 6 o'clock. Look at these tactics from SnOw. He's moving most of his army to the north and ferrying units out to the south. So he's going to really try to pull Barracks apart now.
Oh, my God. Okay, so we know that the vast majority of the SCVs are right there. There is a 4th base being landed over at the place from earlier that Terran had. Again, forcing siege is all you got to do. Run it back right after that. If they chase you, drop the Reavers like so. And you're probably going to trade pretty nicely, assuming those Scarabs connect.
This is a crazy game.
This is such a good game. What's wild about it is SnOw has been up against the ropes for so long, but he's just sort of, like I said, he's being a really good slippery Protoss. It's just really hard to nail him down, and he keeps it growing into these corners of the map. Now, meanwhile, he's not looking here. This is on hold position, which means this fight's going to go very poorly.
Oof.
But the Scarab shots are actually pretty insane. If he gets 1 or 2 more of these,
dude. SnOw Reavers are just insane no matter what. It looks like this little counterattack down at the 3rd base is doing a reasonable job. Like, he's killing some tanks for pretty cheap, but it will get cleaned up. He's not going to lose his mining here, it doesn't look like. And in fact, bringing a lot more units down. SnOw taking that top left main base, really important moment right here. Getting those other 2 bases up and mining. So that's going to be... Yeah, 3 mining bases for SnOw, 2 here for Barracks.
Oh. Okay.
I thought he was going to go for SCVs.
For any SCVs over here, dude.
Thank God. I know. I'm watching this as well. I'm like, if he just targets those SCVs, it's going to be so crazy.
It's like literally every SCV in the game. Okay, he's still doing damage up here. This is a 17-kill Reaver. Now both supplies have plummeted. 127 to 125. Once again, by the way, SnOw is barely mining gas, which is kind of funny.
This is so exciting right now. It really, really, really can go any which way. SnOw coming back in with an attack. Barracks, his army actually split in a really bad direction there. Oh my God! Huge Scarab at those SCVs.
He needs to just get a couple more shots. I guess he knows best. He keeps trying to target the army when he can. Oh my God, Zealots are going to come down here. Tastosis, this is insane.
I cannot believe this. SnOw is starting to take this game, like, right at this moment as we're watching. His Reaver and this small army are picking apart absolutely everything for Barracks. I think Barracks was advantaged until, like, this little battle that we've been watching here.
Yeah, you know, this is why he's the best PvTer of all time. Like, this was such an impossible game, and I think anybody else from any period of the game would have lost this, but he somehow did it, which is just, I mean, every moment that the win conditions were basically locked in from Barracks, SnOw managed to then just kind of find a way here.
Wow, really lucky that he got those two shuttles before anything dangerous got out of there. That could have been really bad. I think there's still a chance here for Barracks to take this game. I know his supply kind of is terrible here, and SnOw's starting to take advantage, but if he can just push that other natural, I think the game slows down to a pace where there's not much left for SnOw to do. So can he kind of like zone this army back that keeps counterattacking his 4th base and get up into position at the top left?
The problem is, SnOw's too good at the game of keep away. He's just basically folding position after position while opening up a new one. And, you know, Terran doesn't have that many more resources to mine in this game. And there are still plenty of bases on this map as far as Protoss is concerned. There's a lot of mineral and gas-rich resource locations. Terran is having to push out in all these different directions. By the way, this is some of the best Reaver control in the history of all of StarCraft.
I can't believe
some of the fights that we've seen. I cannot emphasize how much more value he's been getting with the Reavers.
It's ridiculous what some of these Reavers have done. We've seen a couple times now where they just, especially on the high ground, it's like, oh my God, how does this even happen like this? But Barracks is very close to winning this game as well. He's knocking out that fourth base location on the left-hand side, and now he's killing this base. If you get SnOw down to just that main, you should be able to take it, because it's only shuttle play from there. No!
Okay.
Oh
Big
my God!
SQB execution here. Oh my God, they get hooked on the scanner. Still going to get some great connects over there. So even in this position at the top, Barracks basically begins to win the fight, and that's just prompts SnOw to then retreat back into another corner. Now, you know, you might be right, Tastosis. Barracks might still win this. He's got yet another base, and he's sending DTs out now. He knows in moments like this, a lot of times the command centers in the main and the natural have been lifted, so scans become extremely strong. He's going to each tank. He's going to target that. Dragoons can fight an insanely high number of Goliaths and Vultures.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, he got another kill.
Oh my. I can't even.
By the way, how many Reavers have been made in this game? I really wonder.
It's a lot.
This may be another record for just Reavers made in a single game of a PvT. It's got to be like 20 or something. We've seen so many come out.
Unbelievable. And those DTs, the way he spread those onto the tanks, and then he brought in the Reavers and got the shots. Are you kidding me? Like, tactically and micro-wise, you can't beat SnOw. This is where he is so unbelievably strong. And Barracks is putting out, like, such a TVP. I'm getting chills over and over watch him because he is playing so damn well. But SnOw is just holding on with the most ridiculous Reavers we've ever seen.
I mean, this army from Terran is still pretty scary. Oh! Okay, the command center is going to stay alive. It's being repaired. We didn't have time to mention that is burning down. Barracks isolates this Nexus. A storm comes down. Every single iota of damage is important here. There are probes mining in this base at the top. There are workers mining only minerals, by the way, for Barracks here. He has 1.2k gas in the bank. You never fully deplete Vespian geysers in Brood War, unlike StarCraft 2. But basically, he can make 12 more tanks, or a few more, you know, however many more Goliaths.
Yeah. Another thing to mention: it's one base against one base, but 9 patches against 6. Okay, so like it's actually 50% more economy for SnOw still, and continues to get these Reaver hits. My God, look at this supply: 56 to 63. We're 30 minutes into the game, and these guys don't even have 70 supply.
He's going to go for some more shots.
And GG! Dude! Oh my God, this game. Oh my God, that was a must-win for Barracks. I have so many chills. I might go to the doctor after this. I think I might be dying tasteless because this is an unbelievable game we just saw. This is one of those games that I will never forget for my entire life.
Never forget this. This was one of the best games I've ever seen. We literally didn't know who was going to win until the very, very, very end.
You know how chess players
no one has had to work harder.
You know how chess players have these games that are called like their immortal game? It's like this is one of the 2 games that this guy will be remembered for. I feel like we just saw that for Barracks, where it's like, remember that game against SnOw? Yes, everyone will know what you're talking about. Yes, I remember that. That was masterful. He was God tier there. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was the fact that he opened with the most aggressive factory-based opener on 2 base and macroed perfectly out of it into a game like that. Are you kidding me? He is completely a different level than what we saw against Mini.
It's crazy because he had SnOw dead 5 different times, and SnOw just kept slipping away and being like, I got one more base. Like, I got gateways over here. It was like one of those nightmares where you're trying to, like, you know, escape from something, and it just you never quite get away. Well, eventually he actually did get away there. And, you know, it's funny because we took 2 breaks here in production after game 1 and 2. I guess we go right into game 4.
All right.
I would be demanding a timeout right now if I was one of these guys. They have to be exhausted. I feel like I got to lay down.
I know. I know. I want to just pick this cast up tomorrow. Let me just go. Let me just go and like sit outside in the grass and like look at the trees and feel the wind on my face, man, because that game took it out of me.
That was insane. Guys, Barracks is doing it. He did it once. Can he do it again? Right now, SnOw with a 2-1 lead here. Remember, the winner is going on to the finals in what has been one of the best PVTs we've ever seen. I can't believe how good that was. I'm going to get the final plug out of the way here. Guys, consider signing up for the Patreon. What a great game we just saw there.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing this forever. This
There's not
is
a
just
question.
so fun.
There's not a question.
Consider joining us in our cause here. I mean, this has been over a quarter of a century, and we just saw one of the greatest games literally ever. This is not an exaggeration, and I know every once in a while we go, man, that was one of the best games we've ever seen. This is going down. That was incredible. That was for the history
both
books.
Sides.
We'll be talking about that game years and years from now.
Yeah, that was, and I feel like that is really Barracks showing what I was talking about in the first two games, where like he's really leveled up. Like he is completely a different player than he used to be after watching that. It doesn't matter how much coaching anyone has given you, you have to be so damn good to put out a game of that quality. It's insane. Great series so far, and we're going into knockout. And I'll tell you what, Tasteless, I think that this is the best Terran versus Protoss map that we've had in years. You know, like I didn't necessarily, I didn't feel that way at first. I thought like, oh, it'll probably just be like kind of evenish. But the more I've played it and the more I've watched it, the more I've thought about it, I don't think anyone's playing it perfectly yet. Like positionally, like where I think the fourth base is the hardest question on this map by far. Do you take the one that's out of the way, or do you take one that's more towards your opponent or whatever, or more in the middle? But I'm going to say, like, this is the easiest third base that you're going to find anywhere. It's an unbelievably defensible map, and the center is very small. So you can cut off unit movement from Protoss quicker on this map than most others. So I think that this is a great map for Barracks to be able to take another game on.
We had Pylon Gateway Pylon Gas, which is very, very rare. Probably one of the rarest openers in the matchup that there is. I mean, we basically see more of every other build besides this. So this allows you to get up to 2 to 3 Zealots for pressure. So it's similar to what we saw on Detonator, but more aggressive. You can also get a Nexus out a little bit faster. It kind of depends on what you scout with, you know, how you want to handle this. But you can see a Zealot is already out as the gas finishes. So as probes are mining from that. And maybe this is a response to the way that Barracks actually handled the opening last time. To just have because this Zealot hits much earlier than any other Zealot you see, because the Zealot is made before the core has started.
Yeah, it's if he's doing something like, let's say he's like close spawn and going command center after Barracks or something, you might be able to get some damage. I think because it's cross spawn and it's a factory expansion, like anytime that you open like this and you see Zealots, you're actually happy as Terran. Because the Zealots don't actually, once you hit a certain level of micro, the Zealots don't have any potential for damage. And you have some potential for like maybe a counterattack or something, you know, if they screw up, lose the Zealot. You can just kind of out micro slow Zealot so hard that it gives you some potential in the game.
So since they're in cross spawns, you don't want to make much more after that first one. If you're closer and they were going for a quick command center, you might be able to punish here. So this will basically transition into a normal looking game. It is a very fast Nexus though. So he has the first Dragoon out here now, and this is a Nexus. Basically they start their expansions at about the same time here. But yeah, SnOw really showing a lot of interesting moves here for each of his openings. You know, Nexus first, or some of these games where he's being a lot more aggressive and allowing himself opportunities to do damage early on. And I think part of that's just because Barracks has shown that he's willing to really cut corners early on if he thinks he can get away with it.
And we've definitely seen him get away with it so far. His defense of everything has been pretty immaculate in the early game. Just has 4 Marines sitting here. I think it's an excellent way to play. Don't forget that little divot there, that is low ground in the center, so Barracks is trying to utilize SnOw losing vision as he walks forward by pulling back, plus high ground advantage. SnOw pokes a couple times, but you can't really get anything done there against decent micro.
Yeah, there's this ditch there, so the low ground, you can absolutely punish somebody that's trying to fight on the low ground. And I like that. I think that's a cool addition for this map. So the Vulture's out on the map, moving around. I don't think SnOw's going to let that get inside of his base. He's very good about that. And once again, it's going to be shuttle immediately into Reaver. Probably immediately into Reaver speed. While SnOw has a lot of different openings, they do oftentimes, as you enter mid-game, end up in the same spot. You're kidding me.
That's
so he's going to go for shuttle and Reaver speed here. And Terran goes for a hidden command center. And by the way, this has been a rising trend in ASL is hidden bases.
Yeah.
The last 4 seasons we've had more and more hidden bases. I feel like the first time we really saw a hidden base used at the highest level was Flash playing random against, I think, Shuttle on Eclipse, where he like played really conservative looking, but actually took a third base immediately in the corner. But the third base here from Barracks is interesting because this does give the game a bit more of a roll of the dice, right?
Yeah.
You know, if they scout it, then that's on you, man. You took a hidden base. I mean, the reason why we don't always recommend when you're learning the game to hide bases like this is because if they're found, you'll probably lose, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes in these games that are so intense, especially the kind that we saw Barracks give in Game 2 and Game 3, the odds that Protoss is going to be as thorough at scouting for hidden bases while they're trying to expand and just get their own bases up is a lot lower.
Yeah. It is.
So I think there's some genius to this.
With the limited vision, it's going to be really hard to identify the missing minerals that show you that it's there. So that's another issue that we have. And in fact, even the location of it makes a lot of sense. SnOw, if he takes another main, it's much more likely to be bottom left, because that's like a main that you could punish from. And if Terran takes the sealed away 4th at the bottom middle, like 6 o'clock, then that opens the whole top lane for SnOw. So this is like really, really well thought out, this hidden base.
Okay, he gets the first drop off here. And you always want to go for the Marines if you can, because the Marines are what basically drive the shuttle away. And he's going to just kind of hold his ground here. There is an armory started. I'm kind of confused why this isn't moving. He did have shuttle speed just finished, by the way. We see the shuttle and Reaver a little bit faster. Am I crazy? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The shuttle doesn't have speed yet. I would imagine it's on the way because it's SnOw. And he played this
for some
really.
reason I thought it was faster.
Yeah, he played it really defensively. By the way, he got a 3rd gate before his 3rd Nexus, which is not many players do that with Reaver openers. And he's going to go Arbiter. Oh, Reaver into Arbiter. I've seen this a little bit lately from top pros on the ladder. Like, they are practicing this a little bit. But it's not very common, Reaver into Arbiter. It's like kind of... It's weird, right? Because it's like, okay, well, you have some gateway units and you have Reavers, which is like, you know, this is a good combo for the early game. But you're kind of missing that bridging unit, right? Like, it's not like...
Sure.
No Psystorm. You're not expanding super, super fast with this. So you're really kind of relying on the technicality of the Reavers and of the Arbiter to hold off anything Terran does.
We're going to see if he scouts his base.
Oh, my God.
Real quick, I think the reason why he's going for the Reavers, he's actually, I think, not going for shuttle speed.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think right now Barracks expects shuttle speed, too. Hold on. Here, I'm going to talk about this more. Let's just confirm. Does this actually go up here? Boom. Barracks is in Trouble Town.
He is. This is bad. This is a very fast scout of it. You know, he's mined an okay amount from it, but he's got to float the command center back. I actually think the command center might die. He might actually want to move out with his units to try to get the goons out of there to save the command center, if you know what I mean.
I love the Reaver put out here. So just to go over the tech I was discussing earlier, I think he's not going to get shuttle speed. And I think Barracks expects him to get shuttle speed the same way that we did in our commentary. And instead, it's going to be a pretty abrupt Arbiter bust here. So he's rushing into the Arbiters. You know, Terran, especially now that the 3rd base has been found, basically what Terran wants to do, and that's why you have a DT here with this, by the way, is, oh my God, he doesn't have a scan.
He doesn't.
What?
Yeah. Well, you have to give up something for this, right? Like, you've hit a base and you're trying to get your factories up and, like, you need missile turrets. Dude, that DT is just wrecking face. Holy crap. 1 DT. 1 DT just smashing Barracks.
Yeah, I guess,
Oof.
you know, when you get players this good, they're going to cut corners in any way they can. He's like, well, I don't need scans if I'm fighting. Does he have a Reaver he wants to do? Or is that just a... I don't know what the story was with that, Zealot. I think ideally you have a Reaver you drop as they all fire upon that, and you shoot a Scarab shot in there. This CC could burn down, by the way. It's like at 20 HP, and it's just floating over this vacant area on the map. I think it is going to burn down.
I think you're right. It's very, very low.
Oh.
Yes, there it goes.
Oh, no.
Well, you know, when the goons hit up there, that's why you need to move out, but he had a DT ready as well as the Reavers and using the bridge and everything. Like, SnOw just... These small technical positions, he's just unstoppable at.
Yeah, he's so good at taking these fights. So now the Terran is stuck on 2 bases. Arbiter Tech is coming. And as many factories as Terran has, I think it's one really good stasis away from just kind of cracking this position open. And right now, Terran, first of all, they can't push across the map. They'll lose. Second of all, you know, he needs to actually get a 3rd base up, and that's going to be a lot of work to do.
I don't even know
So
if
he always
SnOw's...
drops that first Zealot.
SnOw, like, the Stargate wasn't blinking? Oh, okay, he already had it. I was wondering about that, if he was even going to make one, because this Stargate wasn't making anything, but yeah, he does have one.
I had the same thought right as I finished my sentence. I thought, wait a minute, I didn't see the Stargate blinking. Maybe he doesn't have it, but yeah. It's been a little bit of a bumpy game, I think, because they both have probably been caught a little bit off guard. You know, that 3rd base getting spotted. You have to really shift gears quickly when you see that. And so he manages to get that, and then he does have the Arbiter out now. Terran is going to try to move across the map with these Vultures. I'm not sure how well this is going to fare. Feels like he's just trading out a decent amount of units. And he's going to have Stasis here soon if he doesn't already have it. And he's just basically buying time. He's just continuing to juggle the Reaver. And, you know, the number of Vultures, the number of tanks, all this stuff that's just getting killed off while the Reaver just stays around. I mean, this is a 13-kill Reaver. He does stasis this, but he needs to get the rest of his army down here to fight.
Not the best stasis, I'd say. But still, microing an invisible Reaver seems a little bit unfair here for SnOw. Like, he doesn't need it to be invisible, but it is. It's like adding that extra layer of hard to stop. He's taking a 5th base during this. Yeah.
I've never really seen the Reaver, I mean, the Arbiter Cloak used to, like, make the Reaver even that much more of a headache. He scans, he picks it up. What is this? He's so good.
Man.
And he's going to go into carriers, by the way, behind this.
One Arbiter into carriers is very tricky. Very tricky.
Because the number of Goliaths that are going to be made are enough to shoot an Arbiter or a Shuttle and Reaver. But what you need to do if you're against carriers is get way more than that.
Also, when you play against Arbiter, you hide a few more, or you maintain a few more scans. You scan a little bit less. This has been popping up more lately in the past like month or so. I've seen a lot more Arbiter into carrier builds popping up, and it kind of like forced me to learn the lesson that like you can't bank scans. Like, you just, even if they go Arbiter, you have to keep scanning for carriers as if it's any other strategy. So it's very, very tricky, and it might catch Barracks off guard. And by the way, like, Barracks is taking 6 o'clock, and a lot of times I don't really like that as much on this map because it's so far out of the way. But I think it's correct here. Like, I think he just needs to get his economy as big as possible, as quick as possible. So this, like, very kind of defensive position, even though he's got less than 0 map control, but just getting that base up, I think, is more important than exerting yourself on the map right now.
So, I mean, up to 4 bases, man. Barracks actually is looking pretty strong. This was a really rough early game, especially with that 3rd base getting spotted. The hidden base, I mean. But, I mean, we're a lot further away from that situation, and it's 161 supply to 173. So Terran's just behind Protoss in supply.
Yeah.
And Protoss generally want to be about 20 supply ahead of the Terran if the game is going to be even. So, I mean, again, the fundamentals from Barracks are really, really good.
It's some of the best macro I've ever seen. It reminds me of Flash or Light. Like, those are the only guys that really macro this quick, where no matter when you look at it, they have no money in the bank and their supply is closer than you think it should be. And, you know, SnOw is the opposite of that. He always has money in the bank because he over-micros everything, but it kind of works with his style, right? But that does make him a little bit more susceptible to pushes like this.
He sees the carriers. We had full scans there. He even saw the third Stargate being made. So now it's going to be Barracks prompted to try to push out here. Oh, he kind of ended up leaving the Reaver behind, so that got killed off. Right now, the Reaver, Dragoons, and Zealots are the only things standing in the way from this push from Barracks, just going all the way here into the bottom left.
I guarantee you he's making at least 2 DTs out of those gateways down there. This is how you hold a main base. Like, you tax them over and over and over. And with 3 carriers already out, there's a clock right now on Barracks. Like, you need to get this push going as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the shuttle's been picked off. There is a big army outside of this position, and Barracks is going to try to, as he pushes here, expand into the bottom left and go for a split map late game. The carriers are just now being sent from the north towards the south, towards this position right over here to defend. Another Reaver comes up. It's picked off. Oh my God, look at the tank placement. It's so good.
And he actually scans 2 DTs as they walk forward. So really on top of it, of course, he expects that. Every Protoss does that move. But the carrier's coming down. This is going to be an issue. There's a huge army sitting in between Barracks' other units and this area. So not only is he going to shut down what Barracks wanted to be his 5th base, he should be able to kill these tanks. But the tanks, you know, this is a lot of tanks. They can clear the base. He can try to get out. Like, he's got a few different options here. I think it is important that you clear everything out of that main, though.
Yeah, he did keep the probes alive, right? Yeah, they're in the bottom right of that main. Now, he could put Dragoons on the side and just try to hit this command center. He's going to clean this up, so that's going to be remade. I think that maybe SnOw miscalculated by setting these Dragoons down here, because now they're stuck. The carriers could try to come up here, but these Dragoons are probably all going to be massacred before they can be saved.
All right, good targeting.
Takes out the Stein's vessel.
Yeah, definitely something you always want to do. Gets the D-Matrix down, though. Yeah, DT's walking in. Pulling a few mines here and there. Definitely dealing a lot more damage. We don't see a scan coming down. He's doing such a good job of spraying those DTs out. And it looks like maybe he just denied with a Zealot a new 5th base over there on the side. Not entirely sure.
Yeah, he's going to send the DTs to the SCVs. Meanwhile, the carrier count, what is this, up to 6 maybe? I think that actually SnOw wins again. You know, he's so good at the ebb and flow of PvT and kind of being on the map in the right spot and playing keep away and teching into this or teching into that. And it seems like now, you know, it felt like it was really close, right? Well, suddenly it's 97 supply to 195. So, like, you know, what seemed like it was this tug of war, like, and, you know, it could go either way. Actually, no, SnOw made that unwinnable for Barracks.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of that just comes down to the fact that Barracks chose to use hidden command center strategy in the top right, and SnOw found it really quickly. You know, Barracks did not make his money back from that. He lost the command center. And then even as he tried to push out, a single DT ruined him because he didn't have ComSat. Like, SnOw did everything right that game. And Barracks had taken a big risk. I think in a best of 7 against the best PvT player ever, you can't really fault him for taking a risk like that. In the back of my own mind, watching how he played on these other maps and how good his macro is, I kind of feel like I wish that he would have played a standard game on this map. But I think it was a good plan. It just got found out, and that's going to happen sometimes.
Probably there won't be another hidden base here.
Don't think so.
In this series. We'll be right back, guys. Barracks vs. SnOw continues on after this break.
For esports pros, awareness is essential. That's why the Black Shark V3 Pro is tuned in to what matters most. A quantum leap in speed for instant audio response. Full range clarity that carries every shot call. Advanced ANC to eliminate all distractions. And crisp, clean sound that captures key audio cues. Made for the best. Made for who you can be.
gotta get ready for this one. Start it up. Are you ready? Start it up. I thought so. Start it up. Let's go. It's what the people want. Let's go. It's what the people need. Let's go. So let's give it to them. We tried to tell them, but they didn't listen. We had to pivot, take a new position. Now we non-stop, round the clock, about to rock your body, make your body rock. If you scared, better call the cops. All can trade if you on now. You think we here, but we over there.
Welcome back, everybody. What an insane set of games we've had here today. SnOw really did a masterclass on PvT back there. I wanted to mention this earlier, but we cut to a break, but it even seemed like he had an exact moment after he ticked off every box and cornered the Terran. He sent one observer to each main to check for the hidden base. Like, he really, you know, sometimes when it comes to hidden bases, it's like, well, are they going to check or not? Apparently, he just will always check once he gets into a position like that. And that's exactly what we saw down there. We had one observer going to each location, spotted that. You know, anytime your hidden base is scouted in a game of StarCraft, even at lower levels, it's really hard for, if both sides are even, it's pretty hard to recover.
Yeah.
But SnOw made that one an impossibility.
Yeah. I actually wonder if that's something he regularly does. I haven't noticed, but it's something I'm going to watch for, because that was, to have that built into that game, that really won him the game. I think Barracks probably takes it if he doesn't scout that so quickly. So we're going to go to Litmus. This is a tough map for Terran versus Protoss. It's really hard to get your third base down. So let's see how this goes.
ASL Season 20.
Okay, Barracks here in the top and SnOw in the bottom. Obviously, the parameters of this map are very different. Will we have a different looking opening from either side? It doesn't look like a probe is sent out to do any kind of proxy yet. Obviously, gas steals don't really make sense unless you could steal both gases and somehow get away with it and make it work.
Haven't seen it work.
But, you know, proxying is still very tempting on any map where you can get away with it. But SnOw's not going to go for it this game.
Yeah. I'm pretty nervous about Barracks' chances here. Litmus is really, really difficult, Terran versus Protoss.
Yeah.
There's so many entrances by air. The third base is really far away, and the little choke is so perfect for an arc of Dragoons and Reavers in a shuttle to slow you down. I almost feel like his Dominator build would have been a pretty good choice here, just something more heavily aggressive or something like that, but I don't think you want to do that multiple times. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure he has a good plan. Like, his plans have been good, even when they haven't worked. You know, the command center hidden, you know, I didn't like it. I wish he had done something else, but I have to nod towards how smart of a plan it was. I would be surprised if Flash didn't tell him to do that, because you even mentioned, like, oh, we've seen Flash do this type of move. And it makes sense in a best of 7, right, is to mix something like that in.
You know, it's funny, the game that won, excuse me, the game that Barracks won was, like, so inspirational. It was so historic. But it really ultimately almost goes back to a testament of how good SnOw is at this matchup. Like, he just knows exactly what he needs to try to do in any kind of a PvT. Like, what the win conditions are and how to get there. No matter how dire, how complicated, how hopeless it might look, he kind of knows how to handle that. And then you look at, like, the last game we had, which is like, okay, he just checks for everything, including hidden base. And then he made it so impossible to win. He knew to make the 1DT because he knew, apparently, and this is over my head, but that you would absolutely not have scan there, or at least there's a chance you wouldn't have scan there because you see Reavers right away. And so you're trying to just kind of push out and maybe take a third as soon as you can. Into going into Arbiter, into going into Carrier. I mean, it was such an impressive game. So I'm in the same boat as you are, Tastosis. I'm worried right now for Barracks. I would love to see him win a couple more games, but it's hard to imagine just because of how well SnOw has played, even when he loses.
Yeah, yeah. And Barracks has played so well as well. You know, it's unfortunate that on one of the better Terran versus Protoss maps, in my opinion at least, he did take that big risk. But you know, such is life. I mean, this is you got to play to win. That's the thing. You got to appreciate people playing to win as well. Now, the first Zealot comes out. He's got plenty of Marines to just push that back. I don't really foresee anyone getting a big advantage here in the early game. You know? It's like, yeah, a couple units coming up for SnOw, but it's a factory expand, so you're not really afraid of anything. you know, it's just such a robust opener for Terran.
He's got his second Zealot there. I don't think this is going to do that much. He just wants to keep him on the high ground for as long as he can. There is the Dragoon coming across the map. Now, 2 Zealots and a Dragoon can fight on the low ground if Terran moves out. And I think he can get here basically before the bunker finishes. But, you know, bunkers make really fast, so you really got to get this timed out perfectly. You do want the Dragoon to come in here and tank whatever shots are going to be first, because the Zealots ultimately are going to be tanking everything else. And he's moving in.
Great micro here from Barracks. Just barely gets that Vulture stuck and will end up losing it because of that. But that was very, very good for Barracks overall, the control there. Like the SCV's pulling back, blocking the Zealots momentarily. Very strong, and his command center should start right around the same time as the Nexus. So you're pretty happy with that.
Gets that SCV kill too. So they both started almost the identical moment here in the game, the command center and the Nexus. And now he's going to damage his Vulture. And we saw this in other games too. I mean, SnOw's very strong and stuff like this. It just making it so that when the Vulture leaves, it never gets back home and probably gets killed off in transit. Is there a third Dragoon down here? Yeah, there is.
It doesn't look like he'll get any further, unfortunately. The Vulture does end up going down. He might put heavy pressure on with those goons now. There is the possibility. But the next Vulture running out, this is actually really important. The reason why we don't see nowadays goons heavily attack a bunker anymore is because there should be a Vulture on the map. And you risk losing your goons because you don't know for sure where those mines will be. Some people take the risk and like attack the bunker and then try to guess where the mines are, and sometimes they guess right, and sometimes they lose their goons and can't get a third base up.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. If you don't know where the mines are planted ahead of time, you're playing, you know, trying to pull off one of the most difficult techniques in the game of just trying to gun down mines whenever and wherever they pop up. And so he is going to lay those mines down. I mean, Tastosis illustrated this point earlier, and we're seeing it now. I'm curious to see exactly what SnOw's movement is going to be in a moment like this. There is always the mini game of you trying to snipe the tank, and the tank trying to protect the bunker, and the SCVs to repair the bunker, but, you know, you don't want to misstep on any side. The same is true for the Dragoons. You don't want to have them just, you know, get hemorrhaged and bled off out here.
And it looks like he's going to sack a goon to find where the first mine is. This makes a lot of sense, actually. So he finds the first mine. Now the other 2 goons can actually come back to that point and do some micro to try to find their way. But the 2 tanks and 5 Marines start to pop out now. And he sees the Reaver tech. Like, and look at how the goons went around. He's like, I don't want to run into more mines. But he actually might. Like, you look at the placement of those mines. That's a pretty smart placement for someone trying to avoid mines.
So, yeah, if he comes in on the side, this is going to be bad. And this push is going to hit. He is going to eat the mine shot. And this could cause SnOw to die in this rush. You really need all the Dragoons at very high HP. You can't really have games where you've sort of fudged it with mine hits. But Barracks doesn't want to overextend, so he's going to back up. He's going to regroup here in the middle. Will he keep pressing forward? I feels like it.
Do you think that's a good pullback? I really don't. I think he should have stayed right there.
I think he chickened out a little bit. I think, especially when the mine hits those Dragoons, like in my head, I'm like, I'm dead. Like, you can't have a couple mines connect on Dragoons. Remember, he already sacrificed 1 Dragoon to just get back home. Now he has 2 squishy goons on the outside. He's going to regroup, but I feel like this is almost too technical for what he was trying to do. I think he should have stayed there and tried to fight. Now, the shuttle's going across the map. I assume this has a Reaver in it.
It does. It does. I kind of get it because the shuttle is out. If the Reaver is out, this attack can kill Protoss. If the Reaver's there, it doesn't kill, right? So I think he actually wanted the Reaver to start flying across because he already had made missile turrets and wants to get into position afterwards. And we see he actually sets up siege. Unfortunately, he lost that SCV, so isn't getting his missile turret right now. I really wish he had a secondary SCV here. Did that Reaver just not shoot?
I don't know what just happened there. I'm not sure. I think we might even have to see a replay of that. Something looked really weird because I had the same thought. I thought did I blink and miss what happened there? Well, I guess, you know, now SnOw is just going to do that damage. Maybe there was a world that had he committed to the push, he could have just kind of stayed there and tried to fight instead of trying to loop back around. I feel like what happened is Barracks basically gave SnOw more time. He had a winning position and then backed off, and like I don't even really understand the maneuver. He like tried to loop around and catch the two weaker Dragoons.
Yeah. Yeah, it might have been to get the Reaver out of there. Maybe he thought the Goons were going to counter or something like that, like to block Vultures coming across. I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, now SnOw has this speed shuttle with Reaver and does take some damage on it, but he should be able to get some stuff done here.
He's going to fire through over here. I mean, it just seems like Barracks kind of played himself, as the great DJ Khaled has said. Like, he just... I mean, whatever he did didn't seem to make a lot of sense. I feel like when you're winning a fight like that, you really got to press. Keep in mind the Reaver tech's there. Like, he would have denied shuttle speed had he stayed there and fought. Not that that's the most important thing in the world, but, you know, the wall-in itself was a pretty valuable asset for Protoss. And now, I mean, we'll see what happens in the rest of this game, but this is starting to feel like every other SnOw PvT I've ever seen, you know?
Yeah.
Where he's got his third base up, the Reavers are already doing more damage than you see in anybody else's game of StarCraft. And, yeah, you know, he's going to get his second gas soon. He's going to continue to tech up.
And Barracks isn't dead or anything, but this is actually one of the hard parts of this map, is pushing out through here against Reavers into a position where you can take a third. Because don't forget, like, not only are you pushing and they're probably jumping back, but they can take like 2 or 3 shuttles and suddenly just drop your main, and you're so far away at that position from your main base. So to like go back in and clean it up, it can be really difficult. This whole portion of Litmus is tough. Once you get past this, I feel like it's a pretty good map for TVP overall. But yeah, this moment, like trying to push through, this is where you're really tested.
So he's got this surround. So the idea is that when Terran tries to move out, if they overextend, you attack him with what you've got. You let whatever you've got take the first few hits, and then you drop the Reavers and fire into whatever juicy center you can get. Oh my God, he's going to do the double shuttle fly-in. This is actually less popular now. This used to be like in every game. But the idea is one shuttle is full of Zealots. The other one's full of a shuttle with 2 Reavers. You drop the Zealots out to kill the turrets. And then what you do is you just go into the main and start killing everything. Yeah. And you have an exit strategy here too. Now, as this is happening, it seems like what SnOw wants to do is actually counterattack, because one of the weird things about the shape of this map is that you can actually just always run around them, because there's 2 lanes to go towards each other. So Barracks is just going to YOLO to his base. Meanwhile, I guess Protoss can counterattack and still be dropping here in the main. This looks really bad for Terran, but let's see what he can do.
He's pretty all in. Killing the natural is the absolute minimum that he needs to get done. And look at this, the Reavers actually even come back. Oh my God. Getting a lot of damage there. But he has to save his own natural, and he has to kill this base for SnOw to have a real chance in this game, because SnOw does have a third base as well. But look at this. Oh man, very, very tough, losing a lot of mining there. He still has a strong army down here at SnOw's base, though.
Yeah, he's got another Scarab being sent in there. Meanwhile, the natural is in tatters. There's no way to mine from this for the time being. A few more Vultures and tanks are going to come down. By the way, Vultures and tanks versus Dragoons and Zealots, they will lose if they're not sieged up and mines aren't planted. These are not set and forget units.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see this tank under the eBay. That's crazy. Okay, so now he's down to just 2 tanks.
He's like technically holding on down here, and he dealt like a little bit of damage to SnOw. But look at this, 25 supply advantage for SnOw right now. I think SnOw saved most of his probes out of here. I don't think it's like he lost a lot. And SnOw is just cleaning up everything at this point.
Well, this game's over. I mean, he is fully recovered. Keep in mind that probes were not killed when that second base was pushed. They were evacuated. And the third base was never attacked at all.
Yeah, that's been clean the whole time. And now a DT out here as well. Oh my God. No scan. Okay, he does have scans, but so much to deal with right now.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's enough. He's so good. Look at this. He knows he can. Well, he actually messed up that time, but he knows when the tanks fire, he can always drop the Reaver out, target, shoot, pick up before the next shot comes out. If you're fast enough, you can do that. Well, this game, unlike the rest of these games, was not that close. I thought it was an interesting interaction with the base trade.
Yeah.
Something we don't really see very often in TVP and StarCraft 1, but, you know, SnOw is better at that too. And so this is going to be SnOw going on to the finals here. He's going to come into the main now and drop. There's just not very much to defend. It's almost like the one shuttle tags the other shuttle in. So that one's going to go back home and get Reavers. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know that Barracks can recover. It just doesn't seem possible right now.
No, certainly. He's running vultures around, and that's like kind of how you check. It's like, can I get all the probes at the third? Like, maybe. But no, that's not going to be doable. He's losing so much in his main base. He's going to lose all these depots now. He just doesn't have any economy behind this.
4 Reaver shots in the center of 4 depots, and you kill them all.
Yeah.
GG. That's going to be it. SnOw is going on to the ASL Season 20 finals.
Wow.
And one of these games was one of the best games Tastosis and I have ever seen in both of the StarCrafts in the quarter-of-a-century history of this game.
It was an incredible game on Dominator, and overall a good series. Even though it was 4-1, I was afraid that this would happen because SnOw's so strong. But yeah, let's go to his interview. Or, well, no, I guess he's going to sign something first, like a tennis player. Like, whoa! I thought that was a microphone, but yeah. SnOw's left-handed? I actually didn't know that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Huh.
That part of the brain develops Reaver micro better, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's more artistic, right? So.
Yeah, that's what they say. So he is surviving to the finals. By the way, I mean, Barracks put up a hell of a fight. It was an incredible series, but ultimately Barracks just, you know, and it's every Terran in the world we've seen fall to SnOw. I mean, he makes the matchup look like it's impossible to beat Terran when he is controlling the keyboard and the mouse. I think we're going to go to that interview. No, maybe not yet, because he's back on his PC.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll take a look here. You know, the double shuttle backstab, I was talking about this earlier on. This is part of the reason why it's really hard, because as you're pushing out here, you're so far from going back in your main base. Basically, turning around to clean this up is almost like admitting defeat. So Barracks chose a more proactive approach of just trying to maybe make a base trade. I can't, again, blame him for what he's done here. I think Barracks approached the series well. He had good plans. It didn't work out. When you have these really micro-intensive games, you're not going to beat SnOw. You see the games where he did better on, it's the higher the supply, the more likely Barracks was to win. And I think that that's a pretty normal thing against SnOw. He's so strong with these small amounts of units.
And the counterattack was the right move here from him. You know, Terran is scary, but if you've got Reavers and just enough Zealots with speed and Dragoons, you can shave off those units. You know, it's really impressive, honestly, like what SnOw was able to do back here. But it's like we said, every game he will go Reavers. Why would he not? He will get a ton of damage off. And it just fuzzies the math so much more about what fights you can take here. I mean, I don't even know how you practice against this unless you have SnOw playing, right? Because no one can do what he can do. All right, interview.
드디어 넘어서면서 와! 아빠! 자, 외치고 있으면 와, 신난다! 야, 이거 춤추고 있어요! 야, 이 축하 공연까지 이어지고 있습니다. 세리머니까지.
SnOw's challenge is a successful one. Your family are watching on as you advance to the finals. It was tough, wasn't it? You're in the finals. How are you feeling? Oh, this is great. It's been such a long time since I made it into the finals. I still don't know if this is real. I was getting worried with how much I was losing in practice. What a relief. With Sulky, the Iron Wall, blocking you in the semi-finals time and time again. Today, you defeat Barracks to make it into the finals. Many people are saying that this is going to be your championship season, that you will be the one to lift the trophy, that you will finally succeed on your third try. What's your take on this? The other side of the bracket is ever so tough. I will have to work very hard. Rather than relying on confidence, I will play more now, and I should have a chance of winning. So you make the finals. Your opponents will be either Bisu, who is on fire with his recent performance, or Soma, recently returning from the military and building up momentum. Looking at this other semi-finals match, who do you think will advance? What is SnOw's prediction? Well, Soma plays so well recently. I think it'll be a neck-and-neck 4-3 match. Whoever ends up winning shouldn't come as a surprise. I can't wait to watch it myself tomorrow. So do you have a preference in that case between the two, PvP or PvZ? I'm not a big fan of PvP, but I somehow win it in tournaments. That being said, a PvP wouldn't be too bad. Your son is here and he got to cheer on his dad as you undertook this challenge, even burst out dancing at the end. Being so close to the finals, it could be a burden, but rather, it must have given you the strength you needed. What do you think? Oh, he is so cute. Just him being here gives me strength. And so SnOw is now in the finals. This will be the third finals challenge that you undertake. There must have been a lot of people supporting you. Your colleagues showed up as well to cheer you on live. We'll give you a chance to thank them. I'm all over the place. I'm bound to forget someone. Kay, our university boss, thank you so much. And our university students, thank you so much. They always show up. And for helping me practice even today, Scan, Ample, Rush, JYJ, Mind, Royal, Light, Sharp. I think I practiced with all the Terrans there are outside of Barracks. Thank you so much. And we also have fans here in the studio today. This season will be different with a championship run in your crosshairs, is how you approach this. Please address the fans as well. You know, it's almost like it was when I became a pro. I don't stream, I don't do anything, all I do is play StarCraft. I am almost there. I'll definitely make it. Please just wait a little longer. And SnOw's family too, as they cheered him on today. Oh, this is so cute. SnOw, they were here with you all along. Anything you'd like to say to your family? No, I can't talk about my family because I will cry again. But thank you so much for being here. Got it. Let's leave it for your championship interview if you win then. Oh, do you have anything to say to Dad? You can do it, Dad. Can you say that? Dad, I love you. Wow. Okay, once more, congratulations, guys. Please, a round of applause. Congratulations.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I love that. Having this kid up there like that, that's great. Man, what a great round of 4. It's funny because, like, I think, you know, a 4-1, you're always kind of like, oh, okay, well, I wish it was longer, but I feel like I'm leaving that series with a full belly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it was a good series.
Long games.
Yeah. I think Barracks played really well. He showed a great season. I'm really happy for him. SnOw definitely deserves to advance. He's a stronger player no matter how you look at it. And this might be his championship, but he's going to have one more incredibly difficult test. You cannot count out Bisu or Soma here. And they are going to be our other round of 4.
Yeah. I'm so excited for Bisu versus Soma. SnOw probably the favorite to take this whole thing now. Especially now that he's actually in the finals. I think he might have a tougher time versus Snoba than Bisu, but who knows? And, you know, Bisu, SnOw, I feel like that's even. Maybe SnOw is a bit stronger. It's hard to say. What do you think, Artosis?
Yeah, I think SnOw is the strongest. I think he's been second strongest player to Solkey for a while now. But Bisu, like, this guy knows how to win. He has more championships than most Protoss players ever can dream of. And Soma, like, Soma's god tier, man. Before he went to the military, no one was talking about Solkey. Everyone was talking about Soma. So I could definitely see any of these three players winning, but I do think if you just look at overall how they've all played for the last 2 years, SnOw, you have to give the nod.
Sure. I am so interested in how these games are going to look because every time these two guys fight, it is so close and it's so crazy. When these two come together, like, the kind of games they make are so action-packed from the very start all the way to the very end.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
This is going to be so fun.
It's a better match on paper than the one we just saw, and the one we just saw was great as well. So it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait.
That's right. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Consider signing up for the Patreon, patreon.com/ASL English. Artosis, any closing thoughts?
No, can't wait till tomorrow. So I want to just end this. Well, that doesn't make time go faster, but it feels like it does.
It works. That's how it works. All right, guys, we're going to close this out. We'll see you tomorrow. We love you. Bye-bye.